our Mobile Tactical Operations Center. And we've created a grid along the river so that search teams can actually all be using the same map to search the same areas and be able to say, this is what we've covered, this is what we've found. So everybody's not searching the same areas over and over again. And this is really important. Obviously, it's very low likelihood anybody would be found alive at this time. But to find these loved ones for families to be able to even begin the healing journey is critical. So what we're doing is we're leading different teams in these areas. We've got a lot of cadaver dogs out there. There's a lot of equipment, but you can't just start moving things. You have to do everything delicately because you are still looking for so many people. The current count we have right now is 121 confirmed deaths and between 160 to 173 still missing.
I mean, that's a remarkable number to be missing in this day and age, but it's an old school disaster. The water came up several feet, sometimes in just moments, washing people away when they least expected it. I mean, this tragedy reaches across the country, doesn't it? I mean, this reaches certainly across Texas, but I know people here in my home state of Michigan that knew people or know people that were either lost or involved, a number of different politicians who had children and grandchildren that can't miss it. And I mean, this tragedy reaches and ripples across the nation, doesn't it?
It's absolutely heartbreaking. We've responded to disasters in more than 20 countries. Our team is made up of retired special forces, law enforcement, first responders, and it's always heartbreaking, but this one is really, really devastating, and you can feel the grief in the air. And so our team is also trauma informed, which is, I think, really important during times like this on how do you interact with that community? How do you be that hope? How can you be God's hands and feet in someone's darkest hour? And we are doing our best at that hourly. Our teams have been working around the clock, and we're not leaving anytime soon.
Brittany, tell me about your team. How many people are on the team? Tell me about your specialties. And it is you focus on what is happening today. I mean, it's been, a week now? It's been a week now since those floods came. What are you looking for? What do you focus on? What are your specialties? What are your abilities?
So we repurpose veterans and first responders to save lives and stop evil. And our main focus is doing disaster relief and anti-human trafficking. And believe it or not, but they kind of go together. A lot of times traffickers move into areas of desperation because they understand and smell the chaos and desperation. And then people are experiencing a double disaster. And so our team has those built-in security skills, and they're just incredible out there in the field, and they know what to look for and they know what to protect from. In situations like this, obviously we've got that piece going, but we also have the search and rescue capability. We are looking for these cadavers with the dogs right now. That's so hard because, again, they're just people's family members, and we honor all of that. We work with the local authorities to support their efforts because we do have so much experience to bring to them. With our Tactical Operations Center, we're bringing in Starlinks and comms, as well as these grids, and teaching volunteers that are showing up to work with us how to do search and rescue and how to do it with the delicacy required. Each phase of a disaster has a different specialty required, everything from search and rescue to knowing how to tarp roofs and protect homes and buildings from the next big rain now that they're left open. And then we, of course, work with those families that have experienced intense loss, and we try to get their livelihood back and running and at least clearing their homes, their driveways, and seeing what else we can do to help by finding them housing. And then we work with the elderly as well in those specific areas. So it's really the force multiplication model, which comes from the special forces, of working by, with, and through the local community to help them get back up on their feet, because all of us get knocked down at different parts of our life or different times of our life, and we need that helping hand, and this is a very trained helping hand.
Well, we certainly do need helping hands from time to time. There's no question about that, Brittany. She's the founder and CEO of Aerial Recovery. They've done this in 20 countries, I think you mentioned, around the world, but this just feels more personal. Grief in the air, you said. Look, a week later, temperatures, it's summer. At this point, what people find, I would think, is fairly unpleasant, to say the least. The people that are doing this job, it takes a special kind of individual to go out into the field and know that you're going to find potentially a child that died a week ago in summer heat. I mean, this is the kind of it's not work that everybody can do, is what I'm saying. Fair?
Right. Very fair. And that's a message I want to give to our veterans. My husband is leading this mission out there. He's a retired Green Beret. And one of the things we want to share constantly is that how much the world still needs those with these special skills, which is those that served in our military and in our communities through law enforcement and first responders. It's so important to know how needed you are in the world, but also in the humanitarian space. Nobody can hang like you can. And so we want to see you out there. We want to see you continue serving in this specific area and around the world.
Yeah, I agree with your point there, but let's be fair about this, Brittany. Even the most hardened veterans, the most hardened first responders, the people that have dedicated their lives to this and now join your Operation Aerial Recovery, there is an emotional toll here. When you find a child or an adult, but when you find a child especially, that has to be devastating and difficult. What is the emotional support for your team when you go into a situation like this and beyond?
You are right on it. Most people don't even consider these pieces because we do deal with going into the darkness, especially in the human trafficking space and the horrible things that we see and feel, especially to children. It's just absolutely devastating. So the thing that makes our organization really work is the fact that we have a healing program. So we have a program called Heal the Heroes that our operators go through in order to serve with us. But then as they continue to see these horrible things, we have a lot of built-in resources for them to be able to process it, get the counseling, and get all of the healing elements that are going to work for that specific trauma, for them to continue to deal with that trauma so they can be a force for good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even for the most hardened, this is a difficult effort because it's a week later. These were not people in a combat zone. These were people at summer camps and campgrounds, out with their kids and grandkids and going fishing and doing things that people do in the summertime. That's what this was. It's not an active war zone like places that you've been with your crew. So what about PTSD? Is that something some of your people would deal with? Will they deal with that from this event?
Most of our team has suffered from different traumas, including things that linger and show up as PTSD. And you know, the whole reason we're even called aerial, it's not that we only rescue people from helicopters. It's about understanding God's perspective of your life and how do you tap back into that so that you can understand how he can work things together for your good. And what you've gone through, you can help rescue other people from. You can help people out of the fire that you've walked through. And so it's so much of our life is equal to our perspective on it. And we help people take things from places of trauma logged in their brain to places of purpose. And that is a really big part of our mission. And so much of this that they're doing right now, yes, it's hard to see these things and be in these places, but it's actually really life-giving for this specific people group to find their renewed purpose in serving in missions they really believe in.
All right. I want anybody that's been listening to this conversation with you. First of all, I tip my hat to you and your team for being the kind of individuals that this country can be proud of, that we need in moments like this. How can people support what you're doing? Is there a website they can go to? Are you looking for more former service members, former first responders that could join your team? Where would anybody go to find out more? Maybe donate and support your cause.
Thank you. All of that is on aerialrecovery.org. We're always looking for more people to serve with us. You can nominate someone that is in need of finding purpose. It's a year-long healing program we put them through. They're not away from their families for a year, but we are looking to reactivate these incredible warriors of light to go do work that nobody else is doing as effectively as them. And so if you want to support these efforts in Texas, if you want to support our work with veterans, support our work with anti-trafficking and disaster relief, please go to aerialrecovery.org. Your donations make these missions possible, and the more donations we get, the longer we can stay. That's the simple truth of it, and there's just so much work to be done. So we appreciate every single person that's supporting these efforts, and most of all, we need support through prayer.
Well, God bless you, Brittany Turner, and God bless your team at Aerial Recovery, and I mean that. What you're doing is not an easy task. It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude, it takes a lot of pride, and it takes a lot of discipline. So thank you for what you're doing. Come back and join us anytime. aerialrecovery.org. You heard her say that, aerialrecovery.org. Brittany Turner, the CEO and founder. What a remarkable job they're doing there. I mean, I cannot overstate what an incredible amount of grief they're dealing with, an incredible amount of work. All right, coming up after that, President Trump expressing his frustrations with Russian President Vladimir Putin for his role in the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war. We'll have more what the president had to say about that. Again, we're watching to see when he starts his roundtable in Kerrville, Texas. We'll take you there live when it happens here on America's Voice Live. Continuing now on America's Voice Live, I will be keeping an eye on the roundtable over in Kerrville, Texas. Bringing you that coverage as soon as President Trump goes live. He'll be talking to first responders and people on the front lines there. He's got Melania Trump with him as well as they're trying to assess the damage in person, as you know. Now, in a recent cabinet meeting, President Trump expressed his frustration, open frustration, with Russian President Vladimir Putin for the ongoing war in Ukraine. A war that is resulting in massive casualties for both sides. Some say about 1.5 million people killed and wounded in that war since it began early in 2022. President Trump has been an advocate for peace between Russia and Ukraine, but even his patience running thin with Putin's unwillingness to put an end to the war. Take a look at what he had to say.
I don't know. We get a lot of bull thrown at us by Putin. For you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to sanction him? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions bill on Russia. Do you want him to vote?
I'm looking at it. Yeah, no, I'm looking. The Senate is passing and passed a very, very tough sanctions bill. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
All right, so we're also expecting the resumption of weapons deliveries to Ukraine by way of NATO. The president has also stated that he plans on making a major announcement sometime next week on the situation with the war there. Here with me now is a former Defense Intelligence agent, Ivan Raiklin. Ivan, nice to have you back on the program. Let's talk about this. Donald Trump really thought, and I do sincerely believe he thought he could get this war brought to an end. And there were a couple of times where there was a little bit of hope, and I thought maybe he could break through there. He's been able to break through with India and Pakistan and get Iran and Israel to some sort of an ending of hostilities. But Russia, I mean, they just unleashed the biggest drone attack yet. How do you see it?
I think this is a little bit more complex than what most folks look at the problem set. The perspective needs to be broadened a little bit in the sense that you got to keep in mind that Russia's relationship with China is probably going to be more important for Russia on whether or not they're going to go all in on essentially supporting Ukraine. I know that sounds a little bit maybe tangential, but at the end of the day, a lot of resourcing and top cover from a larger power than Russia will come from China. The other thing that a lot of people don't discuss is the domestic internal dynamics of how much the defense industrial base makes money hand over fist. A lot of people call it the military industrial complex. And so that, if you will, lobby or constituency within the U.S. is very influential in pushing policy by any president, whether it's a Republican or Democrat. I think those two factors need to be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny to determine what's going on in terms of Putin's motivations in pushing forward, and then also President Trump's response, because you have a lot of these war hawks that are still in the system that still drive the decision-making process within the White House, from my perspective.
Well, let me ask you this, Ivan, because a lot of conversations when it comes to Beijing right now are focused on Xi Jinping's losing his grip on power over the last 12 to 14 months. A lot of things happening. A lot of the top lieutenants around him have been removed. People wonder, I wonder, if the rumors of him having a stroke a year ago and some other issues with Xi Jinping, what would that mean if Xi Jinping wasn't there? And they're talking about having a reformer come in, somebody like Deng Xiaoping come in, and it would change the balance of power. Would that continue to support Russia? I mean, that could throw another wild card into all of it, could it not?
Right. I think China's strategic goal is to place the United States at least in the second position in terms of global influence. And then I would argue that Russia's goal is to assist China in that, so that Russia then can maybe get into that second spot of global influence. So that's why their interest would be of working together. To answer your question about the leadership change, I mean, let's kind of use the analogy of what we saw with the Biden criminal syndicate over the last 4 years. Call it what you will, a quasi-fake administration. So if we use that as an example, if you still have a comatose leader, it all depends on who's around surrounding that quote-unquote leader, or I like to call failure, and whether or not they're in a position to have sufficient influence to drive the national policy, particularly in this case in China. I mean, you see that you have to look at some key players in this administration, too, on who's driving a lot of the policy issues and who's had particular foreign relations with the key individuals related to our foreign policy making vis-a-vis, for example, Israel, and what this administration has done in response to the Iranian nuclear threat.
Yeah, I would say China's relationship with Russia is transactional both ways. China wants something, Russia wants something. They're not really natural allies, the way I see the world.
Right.
But I want to shift gears a little bit here, because yesterday
in
California,
China poses a risk to Russia, and so
protesters
Russia
clashing with federal authorities during the administration of Operation North of Los Angeles from a marijuana farm. What do you make of this when you look at things like this, Ivan?
I mean, I would describe it in one word. It's just another instance of an insurrection that is taking place. Bottom line here, I don't think we've seen a moment since 2017 where, like, when President Trump has been in power, the first term or the second term, you have surrogates that are essentially creating lawlessness, call it what you will, in order to essentially make the administration look weak, create chaos. And then it's essentially a diversion so that they have some sort of content to base off of to show that in order to motivate their base to counter any movement and any successes being completed by this administration.
Yeah, what's striking to me about the video we're watching here as you're commenting on this, Ivan, is the man that's turned around and shooting it appears, at those officers. He holds up a handgun, appears to make several shots. There's a $50,000 reward for his arrest. Look, we need to take the people, the 11 that were arrested attacking an ICE facility at the border, put them in jail for a very long time. If this man gets found, he needs to be in jail for a very long time, maybe for the rest of his life for this kind of behavior. I would say the same for the people attacking ICE facilities. I'll give you the last word.
There are many people that need to face jail time at a minimum, and it doesn't just include this individual, but it includes senior national kind of strategic levels traders that we've seen over the last 10 years. And I'm referring to whether it's Jim Comey, whether it's Jim Clapper or John Brennan. I mean, the list goes on and on. Kash Patel detailed many of these individuals in his book, calling them government gangsters. I've detailed them ad nauseum, creating my own list called the Deep State Target List. I'm done with investigations. The evidence is overwhelming. It's time for arrests and holding these people to more than account. And we don't have a Justice Department that is willing to go to that level.
That brings me to one more thing, so I'm going to extend this by a question here. What about Dan Bongino saying, look, he's so angry that the Epstein information is being buried, the list is being scrubbed and everything else, and he's talking about quitting as the deputy director of the FBI because he is so angry with the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. What do you make of that?
I think we need to ask the bigger, broader question of who leaked that Department of Justice memo to Axios reporter Mark Caputo, who used to work in Florida politics. I'm not going to say the name. I think I know who it is. I have my probability rating, but if you start digging, you will start to understand who above Pam Bondi is likely the one causing all this friction and chaos from my perspective.
All right. Ivan, greatly appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you. We'll talk again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. After the break, Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently impersonated by an imposter using voice AI technology. This isn't the first time AI has used to impersonate a member of the Trump administration. More on that next, right here on America's Voice Live. Recently, the State Department warned U.S. diplomats of attempts to impersonate Secretary of State Marco Rubio and possibly other high-end Trump officials using AI, artificial intelligence, of course. The warning came after the department discovered that an imposter posing as Rubio had attempted to reach out to at least 3 foreign ministers, as well as a U.S. senator and a state governor, using text, signal, and voicemail. President Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, recently had a similar incident happen to her, happened May of this year. The misuse of AI to deceive people is likely to grow as the technology improves and becomes more widely available. That's why it's so vital that we ensure AI is used in a safe and pro-business way. Here with me now is the CEO of the Alliance for Secure AI, Brendan Steinhauser. Brendan, thank you for being here. How good is it? Honestly, if somebody took a copy of my voice, took a recording of your voice, would people be able to know if I left a voicemail or did something of that nature? Or is it that good that they can't tell anymore?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the answer is it's good enough to do the trick. It's certainly been working to defraud people, to convince people that they're talking to the person that it's purported to be. So it's not perfect. It's not flawless. But the scary thing is this stuff is getting better, and it's getting better rapidly. And so we would expect, in even just the next few months, more and more criminals to be using this to defraud people, to steal money out of their bank accounts, to scam people, especially elderly folks, and of course for foreign adversaries like China and others to be using this to wage all sorts of disinformation campaigns to create confusion among our elected officials. So it's good enough, and it's getting a lot better, and I really believe this is just the tip of the iceberg.
So let me ask you this, Brendan, because as you're talking there, I'm thinking, well, okay, so I can do a recording or somebody could create a recording of me, and look, my voice is out there all over the place, like a lot of public figures. And so somebody could take copies of my voice and duplicate it and put it into AI. But can you really do it in real time? Can you have a conversation with somebody on a phone at this point? Is it that good?
I don't think it's quite at that level just yet. I think that we will get there when we see these companies develop what's called artificial general intelligence, AGI. Sometime in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a much more profound and powerful technology that will be able to communicate that fast, because the computing power is that powerful and that fast. And so it'll be able to respond with a cloned voice in real time. And I think it'll be, again, good enough to do the trick, good enough to convince many people that they're talking to the person that they think they're talking to.
So let me ask you this. How should this be handled from a government perspective? Generally, the government is way too slow to respond to emerging technologies when they can be used in a threatening fashion here. Look, you can exploit people, you can exploit old people, you can make threats to people, you do all sorts of things here. You can impersonate a political candidate and make them appear to be saying things that they never said and completely change the direction and the outcome of an election. There's all sorts of nefarious things that can be done here. What should be done to somebody who uses AI to create a voice or a deep fake video or anything of that nature to damage somebody else? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that I like the idea that Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri is talking about, where people should have a right to their own digital footprint, if you will, a right to their likeness, their voice, their image, and the ability not only to sue in civil court, but perhaps to be some criminal liability as well. But I think we have to take it a step further and look at holding big tech accountable when it comes to them creating an environment where this is easy for people to do. They basically want no accountability, no transparency on what they're building. I don't think that's the right approach. And then I would say, you're right. These scams and the financial fraud that we're dealing with is horrible enough. But what really concerns me are the national security implications of this. So going after our national security advisor and Secretary of State, like Marco Rubio, certainly going after the White House chief of staff and others to try and get information. This has become an intelligence problem. This has become a national security problem. And so I think that the Congress has to look at this right now and move very quickly to deal with this, because this technology is rapidly advancing. And by the time they figure out what to do, this technology is going to be moving on to the next thing. So we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I think, Brendan, what you're saying is that Steve Gerber should be copyrighted and Brendan should be copyrighted. We should have a right to ourselves and to protect ourselves. And if you violate that basic copyright of my human image, voice, presence, whatever you would like to describe, then you're in violation of something similar to a copyright violation, which can be very serious. Brendan, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we can look at it as intellectual property, similar to that. But we have to have these protections. And I think AI can be a tool that we can use for good in the world. I think it's going to do a lot of good, but we are really concerned about the downsides and the risks. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg with it developing so rapidly. So I think we have to, Congress also needs to make sure that, not only do they pursue good policy, but they allow states to do that. So this idea of, trying to prevent states from regulating AI, I think is probably a bad idea. We're going to need states to step in here as well.
Brendan, I appreciate you being here. It's an important topic. I'm sure I'll have you back on it because you're very well versed, and I appreciate you spending some time with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Of course, there is the more Gruber all the time theory as well. Just duplicate and duplicate. I mean, you make of that what you will. All right, coming up after the break, lower level court judges are continuing their overreach with the relentless use of nationwide injunctions to block President Trump's agenda, also that most Americans support. These judges are so full of themselves, they believe they're above the law. More on this coming up next. Well, as you know, it was highly publicized. Just last month, the Supreme Court came to a ruling to limit the ability of federal judges to use nationwide injunctions to block President Trump's policies. No doubt a monumental victory. However, in a short period of time, as predicted by Justice Samuel Alito, lower court judges are moving to block President Trump's policies, including asylum bans at the southern border, preventing his administration from ending temporary deportation protection for Haitian migrants, and forcing the government to restore websites that trash President Trump's efforts to quash gender ideology. And now, just yesterday, U.S. District Judge Joseph LaPlante of Concord, New Hampshire, barred the administration from enforcing his executive order on nationwide limitations on birthright citizenship. These judges seem to have no respect for the government and the way it's supposed to run. They should probably be in jail. But they're not. Here with me to discuss this further is Senior Counsel at America First Legal, James Rogers. James, it was clear. Samuel Alito said, look, if you leave this door open, they're going to use it. The door being a class action lawsuit. The way I read this decision from New Hampshire and the bit that I've got, the judge declared a class. Any person, basically, from what I understand, any person who's not a U.S. citizen is part of this class. How do you put together a class? I think there's 3 steps. I think he violates the third step. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's right. He declared a provisional class. Generally, when you file a class action, it's a pretty rigorous analysis that needs to be made. You have to do discovery. You have to examine whether there's a unified class that can all be certified together. But the judge made a provisional declaration of a class, and it's not just non-citizens, it's also unborn children of non-citizens, which raises all sorts of interesting issues for the left. Why can't that be used for challenging abortion laws? And Justice Alito specifically warned about this. He and Justice Thomas issued a concurring opinion warning that there had to be scrupulous adherence to those procedures. And clearly that did not happen here, because usually that class certification process takes months of time for discovery and back and forth between the lawyers.
Yeah, I believe there has to be one plaintiff, right? There has to be one plaintiff, at least 25 similar people, and then they can declare the class. But in this case, it's basically anybody who's not an American citizen is part of this class. If you're not an American citizen, or your unborn child is not an American citizen, obviously you can be part of it. It's nonsensical. So my question, what is the road back to the Supreme Court? Will they fix this problem, or will they just let it ride?
Well, fortunately, there is a road back. The rule for class actions under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure allows for the defendants to immediately appeal a decision of class certification. And what the judge did, to his credit, is he stayed his decision for 7 days to give the federal government a chance to appeal it. And so we're expecting the federal government to file their appeal within those 7 days, and then it would go to the Court of Appeals and then presumably to the Supreme Court.
Which Court of Appeals will it go to?
It's the First Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers New England, basically Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Puerto Rico, too.
Right, gotcha. If this is not corrected, though, look, I don't know what to make of a lot of these courts. I mean, I see Justice Jackson out there basically on an island. She doesn't even care what the law is, doesn't care what the Constitution is. And unfortunately, I think she is representative of too many judges out there, and too many justices that are serving on the Supreme Court, and too many judges that are serving in federal judiciaries. This is a problem, is it not, James?
Yeah, I agree. And you saw fireworks between Justices Barrett and Jackson in the dissent and the opinion of the court. There was some fireworks where they were criticizing each other about the stances they took. But absolutely, the executive branch has authority that judges simply should not and cannot usurp. And hopefully the Supreme Court will rule again and clarify that, because they've done it once, and I guess that wasn't good enough for a lot of judges.
Yeah, Judge Amy Coney Barrett went after Justice Jackson in a way I've never seen. And not only that, she got 6 signatures on that majority decision, meaning that there are 6 justices in the Supreme Court that have no use for Justice Jackson or her opinions at this point. I think the collegiality has gone right out the window. James, I appreciate you being here. Good conversation, sir. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Steve.
Now, since Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at breakneck pace. You've seen it in a variety of places. But don't forget, while they're moving mountains for the good of the nation, they cannot also take care of your personal savings. That's on you. All right. Now, one of the best ways to look after your money is through diversification, particularly gold from my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension at the highest in decades in some areas, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold extremely easy to convert from an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA and physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text the word America to 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, just good information. They have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of satisfied customers, and you can take control of your savings today. Text the word America to 989898 and get a hold of my friends at Birch Gold. Coming up after the break, I'll bring you a correspondent to discuss Turning Point USA's annual Student Action Summit. You heard Jack Posobiec handed off from that right at the top of the program. Real America's Voice bringing you continuing coverage throughout the weekend, starting soon right here on America's Voice Live. many of you watching Real America's Voice at home quite aware of Turning Point USA's annual Student Action Summit that's kicking off today and continuing through Sunday. That's right, the summit bringing an all-star list of conservative speakers like, Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, Poso, who you saw at the top of this show, and so much more. Also, fans of these speakers can get a chance to interact with them and ask questions as panels before the keynote speeches commence, of course. An exciting event for sure. I urge everyone to stay tuned after AVL today. Catch the first day of the Student Action Summit here on America's Voice Live. Joining me now from that summit is Real America's Voice correspondent Bo Davidson. All right, Bo, what is this Student Action Summit all about? Bring the folks up to speed.
Sure thing. Well, Steve, I came here in 2021 as the first SAS I ever came to. It's called the Student Action Summit. So it's basically designed to get students involved, get them activated, get them in a community. And I got to tell you, Steve, when I was in college, we didn't have this. Charlie started this back in, I think, about 2012. And I think about being a performing artist at that time and having kind of a performing arts community, but I didn't have this sense of ideological community that they create here and foment at SAS. So you have speakers like Erica Donalds, Ben Carson, Donald Trump Jr., Pete Hegseth, a lot of the ones you mentioned as well, people that will give these students encouragement, will give them the tools that they need to find out the why they believe the way that they do. And I think that's important because every person, especially in our colleges right now, needs to know why they believe what they do. And that's what SAS aims to do.
I had some folks on in the last week talking about this. And the fact that it appears from where I'm sitting, and I'm not part of the young generation, that's your side of the street now, Bo. I've crossed over. But the young people in this country, the young people in this country, this generation, the folks between, say, 16 and less than 30, much more conservative, much more patriotic, believe in America. And I keep going back to an image that I saw of those students at the University of North Carolina defending the American flag, surrounding the flagpole, not allowing the activists, the protesters, the rioters to take and put up the Palestinian flag. They said, not here. This is America. This is the American flag. This is North Carolina. And it's that kind of bold behavior that I think is becoming more prominent for young people. Is that what you believe?
It is what I believe. I think that Gen Z especially, we obviously know that Donald Trump captivated that generation with people like Barron Trump, his son. I think we're seeing a reinvigorated sense of patriotism. It's become, let's frank to say it, cool to be conservative again. And again, that's what SAS does. It gives this sense of boldness, this encouragement, this sense of community. And that's a positive sign, Steve, because I'm one generation down from you, but I'm certainly not the youngest. But as I see this new generation come up, they need to be given these tools because I know, as I mentioned earlier, when I was coming up in college, I didn't really have that. I mean, I had a bold foundation from who I was, from a kid from Memphis, Tennessee, but I was bold because I was an artist. Like, I wanted to do something with the world. There are a lot of kids that are afraid to speak their minds. They're afraid to say what they want to on social media, and I think that's what Turning Point has done. And I got to give a lot of credit to Charlie Kirk for creating this organization in 2012 and giving these students,
all right,
even
Bo,
younger
I got to jump in right there, Bo.
Students.
Bo, I got to jump in because we got President Trump coming to the round table in Kerr, Texas. I appreciate you, Bo, I do. But I got to get in here. President Trump down Kerrville, Texas, Kerr County to address the folks there. Here he is.
We just were making a little tour of the area. It's hard to believe the devastation. Trees that are 100 years old just ripped out of the ground. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of bad ones. I've gone to a lot of hurricanes, a lot of tornadoes. I've never seen anything like this. This is a bad one. We just visited with incredible families that, look, they've been devastated. They lost their child or two children, and just hard to believe what, I've never seen anything like it. A little narrow river that becomes a monster, and that's what happened. But the First Lady and I are here in Texas to express the love and support and the anguish of our entire nation in the aftermath of this really horrific and deadly flood. Nobody has any idea how and why a thing like this could happen. It's, and by the way, I have to tell you, the people here, first responders, the sheriff's office, all of the police, law enforcement, they've done an unbelievable job. And in speaking to the parents, they said everybody has been so professional, from the governor to the senators, all the way down to the local people on the site that really are a little bit used to this. But they've been looking at this for years, but in much smaller doses, much smaller doses. 12 years ago, and then in 1932 they had a real bad one, but that bad one was half of what this was. But I was speaking to some of the great people in the town, and they said, no, every year we get a little bit, but it was like a little bit of a flood, right? You were telling me, and it was just a flood. We got used to it. We had people, and we took care of it, and this year it was like, what's going on, right? So all across the country, Americans' hearts are shattered. I had to be here as president. First Lady wanted to be here. And, all the beautiful souls. And we're filled with grief and devastation. It's the loss of life. And unfortunately, they're still looking. They're still looking. There's a lot of missing children, possibly, mostly. We don't know. But they're still looking. And they'll find everybody, but it's not an easy thing. You would think it would be easy. It's very tough. I looked at what they're going through, what they have to do. But dozens and dozens of precious children taken from us with such, I looked at the pictures of almost all of them, and it's terrible. Following a torrential downpour, the worst that anyone's ever seen, Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in less than 45 minutes, and I've even heard it went well over 30 feet. There's one story that one person said it had to be 60 feet at one moment. This is like a giant wave in the Pacific Ocean that the best surfers in the world would be afraid to surf. And it unleashed a catastrophic flooding as most residents were asleep in their beds. A very dark evening. The waters claimed at least 135, 140 lives. They're getting that count, but the count that they don't have is how many are still missing. But a lot of lives, a lot of young angels. At the Girls Christian Summer Camp, known as Camp Mystic, a legendary camp, a camp that people would want to go to from all over the country. People, parents, they come and they would stay with their children. They'd stay in other cabins just to be with their children, but a legendary place. They were there because they loved God, and as we grieve this unthinkable tragedy, we take comfort in the knowledge that God has welcomed those little, beautiful girls into his comforting arms in heaven. And we believe that, have to believe that, and we do. And we lost some wonderful people beyond the little girls. We lost some very brave men and women that tried to save the girls. As our nation, we mourn for every single life that was swept away in the flood, and we pray for the families that are left behind. It's amazing the incredible spirit from those families. I don't know. I don't even know how they do it. But moments ago, Melania and I spent a lot of time with them. That's why we're a little late. I think this was a good reason to be late, frankly. And we just gave our warmest condolences. But you say to yourself, how do you give condolences? How do you do that to a young person that 3 days ago was here, 4 days ago was here and vibrant, and now is no longer here? The search for the missing continues. The people that are doing it are unbelievable people, that you couldn't get better people than this anywhere, Christy, right? Anywhere in the world, you couldn't get better people. And they're doing the job like I don't think anybody else could, frankly. And I want to thank them. I want to thank all of these great first responders who raced into very grave danger. We have some people that were incredible. The single Coast Guard rescue crew saved an incredible 169 children at Camp Mystic, 169. And the camp staff was also incredibly courageous. Are those Coast Guard people around here someplace? Because I hear some incredible people. And I actually, Scott Ruskin, is he around? Where's Scott?
He's not here right now, sir, but
So-
he will be here later, and I will be.
Oh, okay. Will you let him
presenting
know?
them with some. I'll let him
And
know.
John Dunn, the owner of the Hunt store, was a flood. Where are you? Okay, good. We spoke a little while ago, and it's sort of John was telling me some stories about that store, and it was just really amazing.
Yes, Mr. President. First, let me correct. I was owner of the Hunt store from 2013 till April of last year, where I actually sold the store to Haley and BB Lehrman, who are excellent operators, and they're on the ground right now in Hunt, leading the effort there together with the fire department, the churches, the schools, what have you.
Good.
And they're doing a phenomenal job.
Good job.
My role in it is seller finance the deal, and
You're going to bring it back?
I'm absolutely going to bring it back.
And the
together
walls
with
are up,
Haley
the
and
two
BB.
walls are up, and you're
Look,
going to...
there's belief out there that it was a total loss. It's not. Gentleman by the name of Larry Graham put up some incredible walls in 1973, and he's a great engineer, and those walls are still standing.
Save the walls.
Save the walls.
Okay.
And the goal is, and I think we can get it done between Haley, BB, myself, and some outside help that we're going to be getting. I think we're going to get it reopened very quickly.
Good.
I think it's important to get it open quickly, because once we do, the community can get back to a sense of normalcy. I think it'll be good for the community. I think it'll accelerate the recovery process. There's a lot that has to be done, but I'm impressed and very pleased with the resources that I think are going to become available through the conversations with Chip Roy, Governor Abbott's office, and others.
Good.
That we will get it done quickly. Yes, sir.
Thanks, John. Good luck with it. Okay, I'm sure you will. The search for the missing is continuing, as you know, and today I especially want to thank all of these incredible people from the Coast Guard, and you'll give my regards in particular to some of the people we mentioned. Every American should be inspired by what's taken place during this short period of time, and I want to thank Governor Abbott. He's an amazing guy. We come very, very close politically and personally, and we've had a tremendous relationship with Texas. I guess Texas brought us together. We were together fine, but now we're together a lot more, and I want to thank Cecilia, your great wife, who's been our friend for a long time. The job you do is really incredible in so many different ways, including with the border and every different way. Admired by everybody. Secretaries, Kristi Noem, Brooke Rollins, Scott Turner, and Administrator Kelly Loeffler, they all wanted to be here. Some of them hopped on the plane with me. Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, you're here among us. And thank you very much. Our great Lieutenant Governor, I see you sitting there. I don't know if they even have your name down, but when I'm here, your name is down, right? He's doing a good job, always did. Always did. Also, numerous members of Congress, including Chip Roy from the district. This is Chip's district. I had a lot of time last week we spent with Chip Roy getting that great, big, beautiful bill passed. And who would have thought... and he's not easy, but he's good. Where is he? Where's Chip? Who would have thought this was going to happen? And he called because we had a big ceremony set up, and he said, you know, we have a little bit of a flood here, and I think it's going to be a little bit, I better stay here. I better not come back and go to it. And he wanted to be there. He was a part of it, a big part of it. And then he called again, and he said, this is bad. And then it got really bad, far beyond your worst, wildest imagination, right? So thank you very much, Chip. I appreciate it. And Brian Babin also is, I don't know if Brian's here. But we do have, and I have to just give some of the names because it's very unusual. Nathaniel Moran, Dan Crenshaw, all of these people wanted to be here. Keith Self, Jake Elzey, August Pfluger, Craig Goldman, Ronnie Jackson. Where are you people? Are you here? You're all here? Where's Ronnie Jackson? Ronnie Jackson, what a person. Every one of these people is so incredible. Randy Weber, Pete Sessions, Tony Gonzalez. Well, we have everybody. Beth Van Dyne. Hi, Beth. Hi, Beth. Roger Williams. Brandon Gill. Hi, Roger. Brandon, you're here? Yes. Thanks, Brandon. Doing a good job, Brandon. Michael Cloud, John Carter, and Wesley Hunt. And we have others, but I'm not we have to get on with it. But I did want to ask Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. He's been my friend from the beginning. He's been the chairman of all three of my campaigns, and all I know is we won by record amount. So I guess you were a pretty good chairman, right, Dan? And his son is fantastic too. But Attorney General Ken Paxton. Ken's around here someplace. Hi, Ken. Hi. And Director of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Freeman Martin. Freeman, thank you very much. You're doing an amazing job. Texas Chief of Emergency Management, Nim Kidd. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for greeting us too. Major General Thomas Seltzer of the Texas Military Department. Thomas, great job. Thank you. Really good job. And many other officials and government, everybody is here. You know, it's amazing. I do these things, and often you just don't have a turnout like this. Half of government is here, but my administration is doing everything in its power to help Texas. And I can tell you that, and the governor will be the first to tell you that when the request was made for the emergency funds, Christy, I think we gave it within about 2 minutes, maybe less. And they had everything they needed, right, immediately. So we've deployed over 400 first responders and assisted or enabled more than 1,500 rescues. Amazing, 1,500. Customs and Border Protection and the U.S. Coast Guard have deployed numerous search and rescue crews, and they're all over the territory, and trauma teams. And beyond this area, you know, the governor was saying we've gone a little bit beyond this area. Oh, there's Dr. Phil. Look at Dr. Phil. You're looking good, Phil. This is a hell of a situation, isn't it, huh? FEMA has deployed multiple emergency response units, and FEMA has been really headed by some very good people. We have some good people running FEMA. It's about time, right? We get some good ones. They failed us in North Carolina, but when we got in on January 20th, they fixed it up in no time. And the Army Corps of Engineers is always around and always strong and brilliant. We're also taking historic action to ensure that such a nightmare never happens again. We're going to look and see how can a thing like this, they could say it's 100-year. Somebody said it's a 500-year event. It doesn't. We're not going to let a thing like this happen again where it can wreak this kind of devastation. Earlier this year, I directed a sweeping review of the preparedness and critical infrastructure. I think, again, I have to say, whenever I say that, I have to say that the level of professionalism was incredible. But we'll all work together to find out exactly what can be done, because they do want to rebuild, and they're going to. I just want to say we have a wonderful First Lady, and she's done a great job as First Lady, and she really very special woman when she saw and met the people that we met just a little while ago. It's very devastating. And would you like to say a few words, honey?
My deepest sympathy to all of the parents who lost beautiful young souls. Deepest sympathy from all of us to the community, to everybody who lost a loved one. We are grieving with you. Our nation is grieving with you. We just met with the wonderful families. We pray with them. We hug. We hold hands. They shared the stories, and I met beautiful young ladies. They gave me this special bracelet from the camp in honor of all of the little girls that they lost their lives. So we are here to honor them and also to give the support, help, and I will be back. I promise to them, and I just pray for them and giving them my strength and love.
Thank you, honey. It's very nice. Thank you very much. So I just want to say God bless you all, and I'd like to ask Governor Abbott to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, First Lady. The first thing both of you mentioned were the lives that were affected by this. Whenever there's a disaster or catastrophe, the first thing we focus on is saving lives, prioritizing those lives. Every minute, every hour counts, and that's what Chief Nim Kidd focused on, what the local officials focused on, what the state focused on, but also what your administration did. On the very day of the flood, the Coast Guard literally saving lives right and left, and we cannot thank you enough for deploying the Coast Guard, deploying the resources, and as you pointed out, immediately, when I made a request for a disaster declaration, you and your administration granted that. This is the fastest that I'm aware of any administration responding so swiftly, so collaboratively, so coordinated as we have in response to this. Thank you for that major disaster declaration. It ensures that we're going to be able to more effectively respond and help rebuild. And let me make one thing clear about the Hunt store. We will rebuild the Hunt store very quickly right here in Hunt, Texas.
Thank you, Governor.
Also, I too want to thank all the first responders, and we have many of our legislators over here. I want to thank them for stepping up and being here constantly, as well as state officials who join with us. And as we've said before, we remain committed. We're here for the long run. We will maintain our operations to search and find everybody that we can, as well as ensure that we're going to rebuild this community from Hunt to Camp Mystic to Kerrville down below. We are committed for the long run, not just to rebuild, but to rebuild in a better way. I have received a lot of detail, even from the President himself, about ways that we can do a better job in the rebuilding process, and we will put all of that to work. We have a special session beginning in 10 days when we're going to start working legislatively to make sure that we address every challenge that the people of this entire region, including the Central Texas region, make sure we help rebuild the families and communities of all of them. But we would not have been able to do that the way that we have had it not been for you, your commitment to Texas. I know you love Texas, and Texas loves you. We appreciate you showing up, and because of your swift and effective response, we're better positioned to deliver on all those commitments than ever before.
Thank you, Governor. That's very nice. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Christy, would you like to say something? Fantastic job you've done.
Well, Mr. President, I just want to thank you for coming and being here today, and to our First Lady as well. Your heart is evident for the people of Texas, and by you coming here and spending the day and taking the time to spend so much time with the families, I've spoken with many of them over the last several days, and they're so grateful for you that not only are you here to come and walk alongside of them, but to spend time with them and to deploy resources to help support the governor and his team, I think has meant the world, not just to those that are making the decisions, but to all of those down to the ones who have lost their children and those who are still looking for their children. So that's the hardest part about the situation we have here today, sir, is that when you have a disaster like this, I believe this is an unprecedented event. I haven't heard in my knowledge, know of a flood that happened like this before. So, you know, in our experience, we know that it's at least a 1 in 1,000 year flood that hit this area in an unprecedented way. And emergencies and disasters are always locally executed. The state manages them, and then the federal government comes in and supports that. What we are doing here, sir, is empowering the state and the local officials to make the best decisions for their people, because they know their people, they know their community, and when they ask, then we come in and support them. So thank you for being a president who trusts people, who lets them use the responsibility that they have to make the best decisions for their families, for their communities, and we come in and we support them in that. So I can't thank you for helping us making such quick decisions, for Nim and his team, and the governor is absolutely fantastic. Every time I picked up the phone and was here, the lieutenant governor was available, the entire team, the Coast Guard and the Border Patrol were absolute amazing resources on the ground immediately, and we've had over 700 different FEMA employees and volunteers here as well that are engaged, and so all of your assets that you have as a federal government are deployed to help this community restore, but also to heal. I would just ask everybody in the room to remember to love on each other too, and to tell stories and memories, and that's how the greatest fear when you lose someone in your life is that people will forget them. So tell the stories that you knew and write them down and remember them, because nobody wants their loved one that they don't have anymore to ever be forgotten.
Thanks, Christy. Appreciate it. Nim, would you say a few words, please?
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Fantastic
President.
job working with Christy and everybody else. Thank you. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Thank you both for being here. Our hearts are broken, but they fuel the engine that drives this response for this community. These local first responders are the best in the nation. They put their lives on the line. Our volunteer firefighters that were out there putting their lives on the line, knowing that their homes were at risk. You have the best in the nation right here at the local level. Governor Abbott declared 21 Texas counties for this weather event under a state of disaster declaration. Your immediate declaration for individual assistance and public assistance will help us rebuild and recover. We've had over 2,200 state agency response personnel assisting our local government partners. But Mr. President, here's a staggering number. Over 12,300 volunteers have shown up here out of love to support this community. Just imagine, working 10 hours a day, 7 days into this event right now, that's over 861,000 hours of volunteer support right here. 19 other states have sent resources to us. Secretary Noem, thank you for the coordination and the effort on that. Your team has been phenomenal. We will continue the search nonstop. We will continue debris removal, and we will help this community rebuild. We're ready, sir.
Thank you for a really great job you've done, and the coordination's been incredible with us and everybody else. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Dr. Phil, I see you sitting there, and this might be a time for you to give us some of your words of wisdom, if you would. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I've talked to families and survivors, parents and grandparents, and the truth is, we know psychologically that the number one stressor that we can experience in life is the loss of a child. And the worst situation that we can experience that is when it's sudden and when it's violent. That's the worst thing that can happen stress-wise in life. And it's people say, well, you get over it in time. You will. The truth is, you never get over it. You get through it. And one of the things Secretary Noem was just talking about, no truer words could be said, that it's cathartic to talk about this. And there's a collective consciousness in these communities down here. This is my country here. Texas is home for me. And there's a collective consciousness here. And everybody in these communities suffered this loss at some level. And so everybody shares that. And so everybody shares the healing. And that will come through here. Everybody will rally together. And this is about faith, and it's about family, and it's truly about community. And it says Texas Strong on the front of on the desk that you're sitting at, and that's true, because people will come together. And we need to realize that giving this a voice, and if you see someone in the store, everybody wonders, do I say something to them? I know they lost a child or a grandchild. Do I bring it up, or because they look like they're doing okay? The answer to that question is an unambiguous yes. You don't ever let them think you've moved on from it. It's okay to go and say, hey, look, I know about the loss. I share that with you, and I love you. And we won't forget this, because these bright lights will go away. Another headline will come along, and people move on. Let them know we don't forget. We don't forget the loss. It will never go away, and we remember it. And these first responders down here, men and women that were diving into those waters. I've talked to a woman whose husband was standing on the bank of the river yelling to a father, throw me your baby, throw me your baby, let me help you. Mr. President, there is a depth of root and caring here like you just can't believe until you see it. And everybody here knows that. And it's so inspiring for you and the First Lady to come here and share this and see the fiber of these communities. That's why they rally around you and everything that you stand for here, from the border to the disasters. And it's not just a photo op for you to be here. People see your heart and believe in what you stand for. And God bless you for coming here and doing this. It means a lot. God bless you.
Thank you. That was really beautiful. I'm glad I asked him to say a few words, Dan. Do you want to say a couple of words, Dan? Please, Lieutenant Governor.
We spoke the morning immediately. You and I talked the very next morning, and he was right there.
First of all, Mr. President, First Lady, a long time ago, I asked a pastor when I was going to see a hospital, a person in the hospital who didn't have long to live, and I said, what do I say? And they said, don't worry about what you say, just be there. So you and Madam First Lady, the two of you being here, sends a message. It paints a picture that words can't express, and it gives them hope. And the people of this community have become a family. I didn't know the mayor last week. I wish I didn't know him today under these circumstances. But we've become a family around this room, and it starts with you at the top, down to the governor, down to the statewides, down to the secretary. I mean, Christy Nome coming in, she called Saturday morning and said, the president wants me to be there today. And she came. And so that message is so important. Two things will get us through: our faith, so the people along this river are not standing on the rock of the banks of the river, they're standing on the rock of their faith. And that will get them through the struggles that you talk about. But you and the federal government will help us get through everything, all the debris that has to be taken, all the rebuilding, and I know we can count on you. So from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of all of these families, thank you for being here. You just can't measure how much it means to them.
Thank you very much, Dan. Great job. Appreciate it. Do you want to take a couple of questions, Governor? Would you want to do that? Do you want to?
Sure.
Is the press going to be respectful of this event, this horrible event, this horrible tragedy? Please, yes. Go ahead, please.
Marissa Ahmas here with CBS News Texas. Several families we've heard from are obviously upset because they say that those warnings, those alerts didn't go out in time, and they also say that people could have been saved. What do you say to those families?
Well, I think everyone did an incredible job under the circumstances. This was, I guess Christy said, a 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000 years. And I just have admiration for the job that everybody did. There was just admiration. Only a bad person would ask a question like that, to be honest with you. I don't know who you are, but only a very evil person would ask a question like that. I think this has been heroism. This has been incredible, really, the job you've all done. It's easy to sit back and say, oh, what could have happened here or there, you know. Maybe we could have done something differently. This was a thing that has never happened before, and nobody's ever seen anything. I've never seen anything like this. I've gone to some real bad ones. I've never seen anything like this. So I admire you, and I consider you heroes and heroine. And I think you've done an amazing job. Brian, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask you, who was the first person to contact you to notify you that this tragedy was unfolding?
Probably Christy, but I was notified by a lot, and Chip called also. Chip was here for, he thought it was going to be a little flood. He was going to miss the signing for the big, beautiful bill. And he called to apologize. He said he's going to be delayed because of a little flood, and the little flood turned out to be the biggest flood anyone's ever seen. So Chip but Christy called right away. She was there. I looked the next morning. She was right there on the ball. So
I just want to say, as a native Texan, I've received hundreds of messages. I told you did the other day, but I'm going to tell our representatives that are here in the crowd today, thank you for your response. This is Texas Strong. President Trump, this is America First policy in terms to responding to a tragedy like this. Thank you on behalf of Texas as well.
Thank you very much. Well, that's a nice reporter. That's a nice question. That's a nice, but I like his statement even better. Thank you very much, Brian. That's very nice. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Great to see you, President Trump.
Thank you.
Thank you, First Lady Melania, for being here. I'm born and raised in Texas, and there's not a person in our state who hasn't been impacted by this tragedy. But what's been so disheartening recently are these ghouls on the left, like Jasmine Crockett and the left-wing media, who want to point fingers and play partisan games and fundraise off of this crisis. And what I love about Texas is we come together in a crisis across party lines, ideological lines. So what is your message, and maybe Governor Abbott as well, to these folks on the left who are using this to gain partisan points in viral videos?
Well, I'll start off by just saying, they've lost their confidence. They've had a tremendous run of bad talent. I don't say bad luck, I say bad talent. And all they want to do is criticize. And I hope we can someday be bipartisan, but all they like to do is criticize. And this way, they're getting just absolutely clobbered because everyone sees what an incredible job the governor did. Everybody in this room, everybody at this table in particular, but everybody in this room did an incredible job. And the public knows it. The public's wise to it. They have their soundbite. They send out a soundbite, and it's supposed to be, you're supposed to say that. And if you don't say that, they throw you out of the party. No, they've lost. Honestly, they've lost their confidence. I see some of the people they're putting forward, and those people will only ruin our nation. Our nation, a year ago, was dead, and it was going down, but it was dead. And now we have the most successful nation anywhere in the world. You take a look. I was with the King of Saudi Arabia. I was with the leaders of the world recently at NATO. Every one of them said the same thing. They said, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Your nation was dead 1 year ago, and now you have the hottest nation. It's the hottest nation, hottest in quotes. It's the hottest nation anywhere in the world. Every leader is saying that we're the hottest nation in the world. We've all gotten together. We've done a great job. This state has been unbelievable. I work so well with the governor and with your senators and with everybody in this state. We get it done. We've had some pretty big problems here with the floods and all the different things that we've worked out, and we respond very quickly, and they respond very quickly, and they spend their money wisely. We give them a lot of money, but they spend it wisely. I can't say that's true always. Sometimes we give money and they don't spend it so wisely. They spend it very, very foolishly. So, Governor, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. One thing that you pointed out that we all know about Texans is part of our bloodstream, and that is we're Texas tough. We're made for challenges. I read a piece the other day. I'll just quote one line from, and that is, when the rivers rise, so do we, and we rise to the occasion. And the way that we do that is by everybody working together. We are one team united. We are Texans, and fighting as Texans, we're going to rebuild not just Kerrville or Hunt or Kerr County, but across the entire state, across regions. We're going to come together and fight together and ensure that we elevate even better, keeping foremost in mind exactly what Dr. Phil was talking about. As we rebuild, we've got to constantly comfort the families of those who have suffered a loss. Those two things combine, and we will be our quintessential selves, and that is Texas tough, Texas resilient.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. President, first
the blue shirt.
Thank you for
right over here. Go ahead.
I'll wait for Chip. He's my representative. I'll wait for him.
Mr. President, if I could just jump in and just say one thing, which is I can't thank you enough. When I called you on Friday, you said whatever you need. When I called the secretary's office, she called me within 15 minutes and said, whatever you need, and then she came here this weekend. I've never seen such a quick response and such a focus on delivering for the people. But importantly, I want to thank all of my colleagues in the House sitting right over there. Every single one of them called me personally. Every single one of them reached out to this team that the governor was just talking about, the team effort to deliver for the people of Texas. They're here now, not here to microphone. They're here just to be here because they believe in this state, and they believe in what you're doing as the president, and they believe in what the governor is doing. And importantly, this morning, I was at a press conference for the Community Foundation of the Hill Country, which has raised over $30 million from the great people of this state and from around the country. And they sent checks out today of $5 million to people in this community to help them with cash for people, for small businesses, first responders, and all the people that need help to reunite. And the final point I'll just say, for all of the media clamoring to ask that ridiculous first question and try to point fingers. The governor said it best when he said that pointing fingers is for losers. This state is about looking forward, and we'll figure out how to make our systems the best they can be. But importantly, when you see 26 feet of water rising a foot per minute, don't go around pointing fingers. The people in this community rallied around to help people, and that's the enduring image. Those little girls from Camp Mystic who were singing hymns as they watched the damage as they left that camp coming out of there. And that's who the people of Texas are. And I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And, you know, 2 words, unity and competence. If you were to ask me 2 words that I've seen here, one is unity. The unity has been unbelievable. And then the competence of the Coast Guard and some of the people within the Coast Guard that saved a lot of lives. They went out and they saved a lot of lives. But there were others other than the Coast Guard. But I would say competence and unity, the way everyone has just pulled together. It's rare that you see this.
Mr. President. Again,
I've been to so many, and I've seen bickering and fighting, and just it doesn't work the same way. This has been amazing. This is the biggest, because I've never seen one like this. Neither has anybody else, by the way. Yes, please.
Hey, it's Joe Pags, Mr. President. It's been a while since we've seen each other. Obviously, the staffing was where it needed to be. In fact, it was heavier than it should have been because of the holiday weekend. Whatever they're saying in the left news isn't the truth. You're a developer, though. At 1 o'clock in the morning, the technology only goes as far as it goes. Kids don't have their phones. Phones are dead. People by the riverside don't have electricity. They're not going to get a phone alert that way. As a developer, going forward, knowing that everything was done lightning fast by Secretary Noem, by you, by the governor, and everybody else, you did everything right. What do we do next time, though, to make sure that people are alerted if they're dead asleep? Maybe an alarm system, maybe a siren system. You might know better than I. But what do we do going forward? Because we've got to make sure that people get the alert when it's time to get the alert. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll probably have to do that. You'll probably come up with something very unique, because there is no system right now. There's been a thing like this has never happened that anybody knows. Certainly not to this extent, but I know the governor and everybody is working on it. They're meeting, and they'll figure something out. Go ahead, Governor.
Yeah, so we begin a session in 10 days. We will address every single question that you just asked. You mentioned some of the ideas. There are many more. And we want to hear, most importantly, we have to devise a response that's right for this community. And this community has to weigh in, and they need time to be able to convey that to us. But we're going to work on alerts. We're going to work on every single solution to make sure things like this don't happen again, not just in this community, but in other river basins across the state also. So we will work to get it right, and we've jotted down, Joe, every idea that you just mentioned.
Ted Cruz, go ahead, please, Ted.
Well, Mr. President, I want to say thank you for being here. First Lady, thank you for being here. Where we are right now, the Hill Country, is a very special part of the state. It is universally considered the most beautiful part of the state. You've got rolling hills. You've got these incredible, peaceful, wonderful rivers. The Guadalupe River, just about all of us have been swimming in that river, floating in that river. And one of the things that's really special about Kerr County is there are 40 summer camps here. This is a place where all across Texas our kids go. The governor's daughter came every year to camp here. Both of you know our girls really well. Heidi, the week before this flood, was here in Hunt picking up our daughter Catherine from camp. And Camp Mystic, that faced such devastating loss, is an institution in this state. It's 100 years old. Was founded in 1926, and I'll tell you, in Texas, it's not just here that the hurt is felt. It's every part of the state: Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, West Texas, East Texas. Texans have gone, and what's amazing is you see at the closing ceremonies of these camps, you see multiple generations. You'll see grandmothers and moms and little girls who have all gone to the same camp. And the pain that the state is feeling. And on Monday, I went and walked through Camp Mystic. In the center of the camp is a cabin called the Bubble Inn, where the littlest girls were staying. And in front of the Bubble Inn are right now 17 small white crosses in the ground. And each cross has the name of another little girl who lost her life. And the final cross has the name of Dick Eastland, the camp director who gave his life trying to save his girls. And the water rose in that camp And in that cabin, 8 feet high, you can see the water line 8 feet high. It blew the windows out of the cabin and it swept those girls out. I will tell you, I've never seen anything more horrible in my life. And I just sat there crying. I saw Mom and Dad come up to one of those crosses, drop to their knees and kiss that cross. And the mom was weeping. I also want to tell you, and you said this, you talked about unity. The way this community, the way the state is coming together is incredible. There are stories of heroism. I met a mom and dad who had a 14-year-old boy at Camp La Junta, a boys' camp. Their 14-year-old son was awakened at 3 in the morning. The water was rising. The counselor said, "Let's go save the little boys." And they went down to the 7, 8, 9-year-old boys and pulled them out of their camps through the crashing water. And this mom and dad were crying. Now their son survived. And I said, look, your son will always have this trauma. You will always have this trauma. But at the same time, your son will always know when he was 14 years old that there are little boys and one day there are men who are alive because he had the courage as a 14-year-old to risk his life to save them. And so we are grateful you're here, and I will say something Chip referenced is very true. There's a video of a school bus full of campers from Mystic after this crisis, riding past the devastation, and they are singing Christian hymns. And I promise you there's not a person here who can watch that video and not weep. Tears of sorrow, but also tears of joy. So we are grateful for the response, Governor, the first responders, everyone who's come together, and to all the moms and dads, just know we love you. The agony, my street at home, every house has a green ribbon around it for the girls at Mystic. And that's true in a lot of streets all throughout Texas. And we will come through this one way or the other. I'll tell you, the Hunt store right now, the sign says Hunt store, except today it doesn't. It says Hunt Strong. They redid the sign. That's the spirit of who we are.
Thank you, Ted, very much. Well, yes, please.
I wanted to respond just to something that Joe Pag said and the governor. The speaker and I announced yesterday that we will begin our hearings in 2 weeks, but in 3 weeks, we're going to have a hearing in this room so that the residents and the people in this area don't have to come to Austin. We're going to come to them, and we'll stay here as long as it takes to hear their stories and their needs and their wants. So we're going to be here in 3 weeks in this room.
Good, Dan. Very good. Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming together, and the word unity again, but I just want to thank you very much, and we'll be helping you from Washington, D.C., like no other president would do. Nobody else would do it. Nobody else would be even get back to you. You know, you're fully funded, as you know. And Christy, I would say they were fully funded within minutes of hearing about this. And, you know, the state of Texas, number one, they do it right, and they've done it right for a long time. And it's, you know, a very special place to me, I will tell you that. Politically, I don't want to say politics, but politically, it's been a very special place to me. Our great Secretary of Agriculture, you've done such a great job, Brooke Rollins. You come from Texas, and I just want to thank you. She even got the cost of eggs right down. You know, they hit me with that one, and she got them down so quickly nobody knew what. By Easter, everybody was having eggs at a lower price than they ever thought possible. But you've done a fantastic job. But it's just been it's been a very special state to me, and it's my honor. And we will continue to work together. And well, it's a bad situation, and you can never say, oh, it's going to be bigger, better, stronger. It's just so many lives have been lost. You can't say that. But we're going to make it. We're going to make it back. We're going to make it back, and we're going to make it good again. And everybody wants to do it. And I just want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you. You guys have been unbelievable. Thank you for your words before. It was unbelievable. The job you've done, Kim, everybody, every single one of you. So you should be very proud. And we're very proud of you. Thank you all very much for doing such a good job. Thank you very much.
Stay where you are.
And that was President Trump with a live look in Texas, surveying the damage there in the devastation area. And speaking of this topic, Mike, we've got Mike Crispy here and Bo Davidson here. We're at Turning Point's live SAS Summit. Is hurricane damage and disaster relief? It's a topic that's on everyone's mind right now. We have two gentlemen with us, Scott and John of XTI Aerospace, that have a potential solution to this problem. So, Scott, I want to just open it up with you and talk about XTI Aerospace and what you could do differently from what we're seeing right now on the television screen.
Yeah, thanks, Bo. So at XTI Aerospace, we are developing an aircraft currently that takes off and lands vertically like a helicopter, flies horizontally like an airplane. So it has all the safety and stability and capabilities that fixed wing bring. So when you think about things like disaster relief and having no availability of infrastructure, like a runway, like a road of some kind, we can go point to point and be a utility in times of disaster relief that we have never been able to solve that problem historically, and we've had to wait to get trucks in and other infrastructure laid so that we could really provide solutions to the victims.
And I want to ask you guys, President Trump, he's talked about unlocking American innovation, and he passed a recent executive order that affects your industry, and I think will affect American people. Talk a little about that and how it affects the folks at home watching with the recent executive order by President Trump.
Yeah, let's just look what's happening in drone technology over the last 4, 5, 6 years. We're seeing it from logistics to surveying to military applications. It completely transformed the war in Ukraine. Now imagine taking that technology, and this is where the future is heading. So we have small drones and becoming a center of excellence, because right now it's in China. It needs to come over here to the U.S., U.S. innovation, U.S. jobs, U.S. technology, but then take those platforms, and they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, up to the size of the Trifan that Scott was talking about. Imagine an autonomous vehicle that's 12,000 pounds. And so across this spectrum for both commercial and military uses is absolutely this transformation that's happening in aviation, and it's going to be in place in 5 to 10 years.
John, you mentioned the vertical economy. That's a phraseology I had never heard before. You mentioned that drone technology has to go into carved out space for drones, whereas your technology and your planes can go into current aerospace. Explain that and why that's important.
Well, think about it right now. People are familiar with the air taxis, the eVTOLs. If I'm going to take one of those off and land in LA or Tampa or Miami, I have to go build a vertiport. I have to go build infrastructure, which we're talking billions of dollars. And imagine who wants to charge an equivalent of a Tesla battery on the top of a roof? Probably no insurance company ever. We can actually go in right now and use I've been a pilot for 30 years. I could take this airplane, I could land it anywhere, any airport, any backfield, without building $1 in infrastructure. So it's ready to use the day that it comes out.
I want to ask you guys, we've seen over the last number of months a lot of attention on the FAA, on air travel, difficulties for Americans trying to get to small and more rural towns and more rural airports, connecting flights not happening anymore, cancellations. What can you guys do to connect these smaller communities, and where do you think the future of airspace is traveling so we can reverse those troubling trends that were set forth by the Biden regime and, Buttigieg and all that? How do we fix all that, and how can you guys play a part in that?
Yeah, it's our ability to connect these smaller communities with a solution that's point to point provides a solution for the congestion that we're seeing in the airports. The air traffic control system, we hear a lot about it. This aircraft is a solution, a specific solution for that. Your large carriers will tell you that one of their major problems is getting in and out of these major city airports, either from the air traffic system or from the just sheer congestion of the aircraft on the ground. Our ability to move people away from those centers of congestion are a real help and will be a real help to alleviate that pain point.
Scott, we know that I'm sorry, good. You had something.
I was going to say, imagine this. I know you've worked campaigns. Imagine you flew directly into Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and then it's hours and hours to get to Waterloo. But imagine if you could take off and land in the fairgrounds in Waterloo, and then the fairgrounds in Des Moines. You could probably add 2 or 3 extra campaign events a day when the machine like this could fly around the whole state with probably out even refueling.
Amazing.
Scott, you mentioned, we talked about disaster relief because we just saw this press conference from the president. We're in a disaster area now, even in Tampa, Florida. A lot of hurricanes come through here. Have you had any conversations with this administration? We've heard such bad things about FEMA when we think about the Carolinas in years past. Have you had any conversations with the administration or what FEMA or other agencies could do to use your technology, and how soon could we see it help?
Yeah, it's a great question, Bo, and certainly it's an area of focus for us. Our conversations, I would characterize, are at the nascent stage, but we really want to have further, deeper conversations with the administration because we think this aircraft is a utility that has potential uses, whether it's disaster relief, whether it's moving people, whether it's alleviating congestion, any of these things, FEMA and its issues. We think we've got a good solution, and we'd love to have further conversation.
And you guys are now listed on the stock market. Talk a little bit about the way that you guys have grown as a company financially, where you're at, how that's looking, and where it's headed.
Yeah, great. So we're a public company. We ended up public in March of 2024. So we rely on the investors right now. We're pre-revenue, so we're in that development phase. But we do have almost 300 pre-orders. So we're sitting with over $3 billion of orders on the aircraft as soon as we can get it built. I can tell you, a lot of our customers are just ecstatic about the aircraft and can't wait to see it come to market. We're moving as quickly as we can. We expect to fly the demonstrator aircraft within the next 2 years and then move from there through certification into entry into service. So our objective is to get this aircraft in the hands of its potential users as fast as we possibly can.
John, what kind of customers do you think that you'll have? And what kind of price point will it be? Will it be an affordable solution for people to go from point to point, as Mike talked about in Iowa, for instance, for a campaign event?
Yeah, actually, compared to equivalent not only helicopters, but let's say fixed-wing airplane, it's in the same ballpark. Let's call it 11 to 13 million, and that range for a brand new one. There's going to be leasing options. But right now, we're looking at, from high net worth people, corporate travel departments. We talked about airlines, life flight. I had a life flight a few years ago. This probably would have changed my outcome. I could have gone to Denver instead of a small hospital in Montana. So, and I honestly believe, Scott and I talk about this quite a bit, because this is so versatile, some of the use cases that are going to probably be the most popular and transformational, I don't think we've even thought up of yet.
Well, Scott, John, we thank you so much. XTI Aerospace is the company. We hope that you'll check them out. They're doing some wonderful, wonderful things in revolutionizing aerospace. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, thank you. Great talking with you.
Wonderful group. We'll be right back.
welcome back. We are live in Tampa, Florida for Turning Point Student Action Summit. It is day one, and I'll tell you what, it is a phenomenal day already, packed with great speakers. Of course, I'm Michelle Backus, joined by Bo Davidson, Mike Crispy, and the great Ben Berkwam as well. Guys, 6,500 people are expected to be at this event this weekend. It's really exciting to see. You're seeing younger kids. You're also seeing older kids. Really, this is an event for everyone.
You know, it really is amazing because we are almost at the 1-year anniversary from Butler, Pennsylvania, when that assassin almost took the life of President Trump. God spared his life so we could save the country. And to think where we've been from that point a year ago to today, with thousands of patriots, young and old and everything in between, here today celebrating that, and the momentum that has risen from that day to now into the next 3.5 years. It's a very special energy, guys.
It is, Mike. And, I think Michael Knowles is on stage right now. We've got Ben Carson coming up. We've got Donald Trump Jr., Pete Hegseth, Benny Johnson, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson. And Ben Berkwam, I got to bring this to you because I know you're a father. I'm a dad, too, of a 17-month-old kid. Are you encouraged? You've done a lot of these, Ben. You've done a lot of Turning Points, and you've seen how the organization works. I know Charlie started it back, I believe, in about 2012. Are you encouraged by what you see each year with the engagement of young people, especially knowing that you're a father?
Yeah, this is, to me, this is the future of our country, and my biggest fear are actually what the left is producing. So you look at where we're at now politically, you look at how dark the left is now. Well, this is a prelude to what's coming on the left. This is what they're being taught. They are communists, jihadists, they hate God, they hate life, all of these things, the foundations of this nation. And that's what we're up against. And so to me, it's events like this, it's Turning Point, it's raising up and cultivating and discipling this next generation. That's going to determine what this nation is in 20 years. And it's nothing better. There's no other better organization that's doing anything near what Turning Point's doing for this next generation.
The leftists don't have events like this. Not
they don't have anything
like this.
Yeah. They misgender each other.
Demonic drag party
I
sequence.
mean, that's really what it is. I mean, their events like this are burning down cities. They're out there in LA, rioting. That's the difference. They don't have things where they actually come together and uplift and talk about what they can do to be better. Right. Now, they do have conventions. They do have, but it's behind closed doors, so you and I and the world don't know about it. That's what we're up against. And what's refreshing to me is, like the kid from Berkeley, the loudest interview I did this morning was the Turning Point chapter president from Berkeley, who's in the lion's den every single day and is standing up, whether he stands alone. These guys they're warriors, and we need to cultivate that and develop more of that.
Well, and to that point, that's what's so special about these events. It's a community. You have kids like in UC Berkeley, for instance. You think you're alone. You come here and realize there are more of you than you think. You aren't outnumbered, and that's why this is so important. Let's head out to the stage right now. I believe we have Michael Knowles out there. Let's see what he has to say.
Moment will go down as the biggest blown opportunity in American history, or if we will be known by our posterity, if we have posterity, as marking the improbable and magnificent beginning of a new golden age. Thank you very much. Thanks very much. Thank you. Come on, get out of here. Stop it. Get out of here. Now, I think, do you know, my friends here at TPUSA, they've given me a clock. They say that I'm going to get the hook if I go on any more than 5 minutes and 32 seconds longer. Keep going. Oh, stop it. Come on. All right. Maybe I'll just recite poetry. No, I want to hear from you. Do we have a little bit of time for a Q&A? Can we do a little bit? Do we have the microphones? All right. I love, they always say before these things, they say, if you disagree with me, cut to the front of the line. I'm at TPUSA. Not one person here disagrees with me. I love it. I love that. Okay, there's the microphone. Time is running out for our country for this speaking slot, so who's up first?
Hello? Hi. Huge fan, Michael. Watch the show every day. I wanted to ask why so many Catholics are liberal. I'm Catholic. I have Catholic friends. I try to be as traditional as possible. It's difficult for me to get to the nearest TLM, so I usually go Norvis Ordo. But because I'm from Miami, many of my friends and family are Hispanic and by default culturally Catholic.
Yeah.
I wanted to know your perspective. How could some of my friends have drawn incorrect conclusions and basically become libs?
I blame Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, really. No, I'm joking. It was a problem before them. I blame them for a lot, but not that. It's because Catholicism is a sticky identity. It's because it's something that you have for your whole life, and it's not based on necessarily conscious choice, but it comes in the great Christian tradition, often with infant baptism, and it's a familial thing. And so because of that, sometimes people, they keep the appearance, but they don't have the substance of it. This is why the mainline Protestant church is emptied out. Now they're all priestesses and transvestites and things. It's why, because people then often chose the evangelical churches, which was more of a choice. So you had a firmer commitment of faith there than in the mainline Protestant. But you're seeing a little bit play out in the Catholic Church as well. But I feel good about it. I'm not really bemoaning the oh no, the mainline Protestants are lib and half the Catholics are lib and some evangelicals. I'm not worried about it. We've turned a corner. We've turned a corner. Religiosity is way up. Record baptisms in Europe, in France this year. You got religion on the rise in America. Young people are as trad as can be. They're slightly to the right of Genghis Khan. It's just great. So it's all, if Genghis Khan were Christian, so it's fabulous. I'm not too worried. It's a sticky identity. That's good. That gives you the inertia of history. That gives you momentum. Sometimes, though, we need to refresh it. We need to have a reform in the proper sense of the word. I think that's going on right now. And it's irritating a lot of radicals because the reform looks a lot like the tradition, and that's what people want.
Hi, Michael. This is Joshua again. Do you think Obergefell can be overturned? And if so, what do you think we conservatives can do to help redefine marriage between a man and a woman?
Oh, we got some applause for overruling Obergefell. Well, the common answer from the Republicans is no. Now, Obergefell is what redefined marriage, based on, in Anthony Kennedy's telling, a supposed right to intimacy in the Constitution. Have you seen a right to... I missed that part in Invisible Ink. Scalia, in his dissent, made fun of him. And he said, even if there were a right to intimacy, anyone who's married knows that marriage restricts that right rather than expands it. Ask the nearest hippie. But in any case, it's a really dumb decision. The whole point of it is preposterous to redefine the basic natural institution of marriage. So the answer is, of course it can be overturned. It has to be overturned. It's absurd. Constitutionally, it's absurd. Anthropologically, it's absurd. And for the doubters and the cowards and the weaklings out there who say, well, it's settled law, we can't touch it. I heard that about Roe v. Wade for 50 years. I was told it was never going to be overturned in my life. Now it's in the dustbin of history. Keep the faith. You want to promote marriage? Get married and stand firm and speak the truth when you're asked about it. Yep. 1 minute left.
This will be the last question. Hi, Michael. Love your show. Family watch it all the time. I got to tell you, I have 12 kids.
My man. My man. All right. Okay. Well, I'd like to make a correction then. I said earlier we had a below replacement birth rate. Apparently you have fixed it. So thank you for your patriotic service.
We're doing
a small Catholic, Mormon, or Orthodox Jewish family. 12 kids. Great. Love it.
Evangelical, so not...
Evangelical! Whoa. Oh, man. We're so... If the guy with all the kids isn't even part of the religion that characteristically has all the kids, it's just, what are we even doing here? We won. We're back. It's great. I keep interrupting you. What's your question?
So, how do we encourage this generation of the beauty of big families?
Great question.
It's not scary. You can do it. It's not scary.
They don't know. They don't know because these people were only children or have one sibling or something. So they don't know. They probably wonder about it. Grass is always greener. I don't think you need to persuade them that it's good in theory. What you need to persuade them is that they can afford it. A lot of people say, well, we can't afford it. I get it. Things are very expensive. The modern world is very expensive. Kids, very, very expensive. So my rebuttal to that I'm a little ways behind you. I have produced a quarter of your children. I got to catch up, man. That's great. The way you respond, I think, is, okay, having a lot of kids, it's expensive. Which one of your kids would you sell? What would the price be? What do you think the kid's worth? 50 grand? You think it's worth, which one? You got to be number 7 or number 8. At that point, you must have been getting tired. What, 200 grand, 300 grand? Nothing. Nothing. One little smile from your kid. Even one little pout from your kid where he like smacks you in the head like my middle kid does to me all the time. That is worth an infinite amount of money. That's totally priceless. And I think people are going to get that. We've fallen out, happily, from the fashionable materialism and the selfishness that has bedeviled us for the past quarter or half a century. We were told, hey, you do you, put yourself first. You got to take care of yourself. We need self-love, self-care. Be selfish, that'll make you happy. Well, what happened? We have record numbers of Americans dying deaths of despair, so much so that the average life expectancy
And welcome back, everybody. Mike Crispy here with the All-Star Real America's Voice panel. And I want to tell you guys about a sponsor that is making all of this incredible coverage from Tampa possible. I want to introduce you guys to the biggest Trump victory knife, brought to you by BigTrumpKnife.com. Patriots, if you are looking to make a statement in 2025, this is the knife that does it. Introducing the Big Trump victory knife, a massive 10-inch fixed-bladed knife, precision forged to honor President Trump's historic 47th victory. This isn't some cheap knockoff. It is built for true Americans, featuring a 6-inch razor-sharp stainless steel blade, an American flag, pack-a-wood handle engraved with Donald Trump, and a tactical belt, stealth included. Perfect for EDC, outdoor missions, or simply displaying your loyalty loud and proud. This is the largest Trump knife ever made, and it's only available at BigTrumpKnife.com. That's BigTrumpKnife.com. Not sold in stores, guys. Collectors, outdoorsmen, first responders, this is for you. Whether it's for your collection or just for having on your side, the Big Trump knife stands for strength, freedom, and American pride. Guys, we only have 250 knives that have been made. They are extremely limited and going fast. So don't wait. Go to BigTrumpKnife.com right now. That's BigTrumpKnife.com right now. Again, easy to remember. BigTrumpKnife.com. Celebrate the victory and show where you stand and carry the biggest blade in Trump Nation. All right, guys, we are back here at Turning Point USA SAS, and I appreciate everybody who has made this coverage so far today. Great. Michelle, how are we doing?
We are doing great. This isn't the end of it, though. Stick with us, because up next, you know it, War Room with Steve Bannon. Don't go anywhere.
All right, this breaking news. Sources tell CNN that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino has told people that he's considering resigning amid a major clash between the FBI and DOJ over the continued fallout from the release, or lack thereof, of the Jeffrey Epstein memo.
Well, Alex, we know that the termination notices were supposed to go out starting around 10 a.m. and that likely they would roll out for a couple of hours due to how slow the internal State Department email system is. So this is a situation where many State Department employees yesterday were put on alert. We're told that today they could be getting that kind of information. So to be prepared for that and to come to work with everything, they might need to return before leaving the State Department for the last time today. And we're talking about civil servants in addition to Foreign Service officers. As many as 3,000 cuts expected today. And it's not just all layoffs necessarily. Some people were offered the opportunity to take early retirement, for instance. But this is all a part of the Trump administration's effort to cut some of these agencies, with the Department of Government Efficiency trying to essentially make a mandate for these different agencies to completely reorganize or to have what's known as a RIF, a reduction in force. And this is something that the Supreme Court paved the way for to take place. And so the State Department is where we're seeing a very concentrated example of that today. But it's something that we could see at a bunch of different agencies. We know, for instance, that at the Education Department and elsewhere, similar blueprints have been drawn up for cutting this many employees. And as a result, there is going to be a massive loss, according to those who are familiar with the State Department, of some experience. But again, this is something that the president himself has wanted to see happen. It was obviously something that Elon Musk was in charge of before he left his government role. And it's something that there are further court cases in the works on, that there could be potentially a halt or a freeze to some of this action at other agencies, or the Supreme Court could allow for it to again take place all over many of these different agencies, and the federal workforce could again continue to be reduced. It's been reduced by thousands already since January, and there's an expectation that it will be reduced by thousands more if the president gets what he wants from this major change.
Dan Bongino has told people he is considering resigning as the deputy director of the FBI over the fallout that has continued ever since this memo was released last Sunday. The anger inside the MAGA base has only continued to grow instead of going away, as some officials inside hoped it would. And now our colleagues, along with Christian Holmes, Tanner Rabinowitz, and Evan Perez, we're hearing that he's considering resigning after they had this heated confrontation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi over the handling of this earlier this week. And basically there was a meeting at the White House where the FBI Director, Kash Patel, was there, the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. They were questioned about whether they were part of a story, that there was basically some infighting over how this came out, and this memo that said we're not going to be releasing any more information related to Jeffrey Epstein. And I should note that we are told Bongino denied leaking any story to this outlet that it was reported on. But there has been a lot of fighting between Attorney General Pam Bondi specifically and the leadership over at the FBI over who's to blame in this situation. I think the context here is obviously Dan Bongino, Kash Patel. They came from this MAGA world where they themselves had pushed a lot of questions about the so-called client list that Epstein had beforehand. And now the MAGA base is just not pleased or satisfied with what they've said in this memo that came out unsigned from the Justice Department and the FBI on Sunday night. So what we are told is Dan Bongino did not show up to work today, that he is essentially not there out of protest. But whether or not he actually follows through on this still remains to be seen. We're still reporting that out. But it just speaks to the backlash that the White House is very much feeling and understanding after this memo came out, despite President Trump the other day in the cabinet room asking, who still cares about this? One thing we know is the MAGA base certainly does.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose?
If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Friday, 11 July, year of our Lord 2025. Thank you. Okay, we've got Dan Caldwell's going to join us. Hopefully Scott Bessent, Secretary of Treasury, maybe. We're going to go to the main stage. Ben Bergquam, do you believe the reports are out since the morning show that Dan Bongino had a huge confrontation over DOJ with Pam Bondi, and he has threatened to resign? In fact, he took, I guess, Monday, Tuesday off. Any word that you have on that? You buying that?
I don't have any update on that, but I know Dan, and he is a man of integrity, and it doesn't surprise me at all. Honestly, I think when you look at what's happening, we all know there's more there, and I think if you were to stay in there and allow what's taking place to continue, I think it undermines his credibility. I'm interested to hear what Cash says. Cash is a good friend of mine. I love Cash. But this whole thing stinks, and it doesn't surprise me.
How many guys here bought Government Gangsters or watched the film we did on Government Gangsters?
Yeah, we love Cash.
Yeah, I love Cash, but I'd love Government Gangster Cash.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I don't know if I'm loving this version.
Yeah, no.
And I love me some Cash, but hey, where are the arrests? Where are the perp walks? I got a whole list in the back. In fact, the reason I wanted to make a movie out of Government Gangsters, he had a whole punch list. He named names in that book, did he not?
That's right. And that's the biggest thing on all of this.
Where's Merrick Garland? Is Merrick Garland perp walked yet?
No.
Should Merrick Garland perp walk?
He should. There's a whole list. Everyone in that book needs to be perp walked, and that's the biggest frustration in the MAGA base. We're talking about losing the MAGA base. Well, if you don't do it, when we've seen you persecuted and prosecuted, President Trump prosecuted, all of the J6ers prosecuted, and we get in there and there's no prosecutions, there's a problem.
That's a problem. Jane Zirkle, your thoughts?
Well, as Pam Bondi's doppelganger, I think we could do a very interesting reenactment of the situation. But I also found something.
Her doppelganger, Pam Bondi's 60, and you're 16.
Who's her doctor?
Where's the line with the doppelganger?
Who's her doctor? I need to know. But I did read something interesting regarding the fluoridation of water. The EPA actually filed something to do with getting our drinking water back on track and getting a lot of the crap that they've put in there out. And it was an employee actually under Pam Bondi who was responsible for the appeal of this act. So another interesting revelation in her leadership.
Hold it, hang on. Zirkle goes to, can we talk about chemtrails for a moment or geoengineering? I'm just kidding.
They're real.
I love the chemtrails. It's all part of one family. Let's go to Dan Caldwell. We got Dan Caldwell. Dan, you've been getting ripped on social media today. Dan, you're the guy that's considered by the Israel First crowd that you're the problem in the Defense Department. That's why you got perp walked out. You're now the problem with Taiwan, that you've written all these things about Taiwan. We had the ambassador on yesterday. The CCP is going to attack Taiwan because of Dan Caldwell. Are you a pacifist? Or are you I thought you were a Marine, right? Aren't you a Marine?
I mean, if I was a pacifist, I was a bad one. I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps as an infantryman in the middle of the Iraq War, and I deployed to Iraq. So if I'm a pacifist, I'm a pretty lousy one. Look, let me just, I do have to say something, though, about what you just said about Taiwan. If the CCP ultimately moves on Taiwan, I think it's in large part because they perceive that there is not the hard power in the Pacific and on Taiwan to deter a Chinese invasion or to make it incredibly costly to the point where they don't think it can succeed. And why could that happen? Well, I think one of the biggest reasons why it would happen is because we have not been able to properly supply Taiwan to harden them up, because we have chosen, our foreign policy elite has chosen to prioritize arming Ukraine over Taiwan. There is a $21 billion arms backlog. Steve, I told you this morning it was $19 billion. I went back and checked. It's actually $21 billion. And it includes things like Stinger missiles, which we have sent thousands of to Ukraine, while Taiwan has been waiting since 2019 for 500 Stinger missiles. Patriot Pact 3.
We're live here. I want to make sure people understand. Hang on. I want to make sure people understand this because we're in front of a live audience. You're saying that we've taken Patriot missiles, other things that we need to defend in Asia, right? Particularly Taiwan, South Korea, all of it. We've taken that and shipped it to Ukraine and Israel, just Ukraine. I mean, because you are known as an anti-Semite, right? Because aren't you opposed to the wars in the Middle East? I thought I had you and Bridge Colby were actually not supportive of Israel because you wanted to. I think your biggest rap that you wanted to take weapons away from Israel, sir.
I actually think we should supply Israel. I can make a better argument for supplying Israel over Ukraine because I think that we should supply Israel along with our Gulf partners, create a security architecture in the Middle East that can balance Iran and then keep an external hegemon out, and that allows us to retrench from the region. But you brought up Israel too. Guess what? In 2023, we pulled 300,000 artillery shells out of our war stocks in Israel to support, guess who? Ukraine. So when October 7th happened and the Israelis needed to pull weapons out of that war stock, they weren't there because Biden sent them to Ukraine. So Biden had to turn around our artillery shipment from Ukraine and send it back to Israel. So our support of Ukraine hasn't just undermined our ability to support our partners in the Pacific, it's also undermined our ability to support partners like Israel. So, you know, they can call me anti-Taiwan, anti-Israel all they want. The people that are undermining these partners are the people who are delusional enough to believe that we have unlimited resources, that we can do everything, everywhere, all at once, all the time. And those are the people that are going to create the conditions for China to move on Taiwan. Those are the people that create the conditions for partners like Israel not to defend themselves. It's not people like me and Bridge Colby that point out the material reality.
So President Trump obviously supported that. He supported Bridge Colby. Bridge Colby's the major policy guy with the Pentagon. Why are we in a situation where it looks like we're going to sell weapons to Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and they're going to give our rare stock of equipment to Ukraine? How do we get in this situation, sir?
Well, I can't confirm all those details. I would just say is that there's been a ton of bad reporting around what's been going on in Ukraine, what's been shipped and not been shipped, and who's responsible for that. I will say this, is that if I were still in the administration, what I would be saying is we need to put pressure on the Germans to give over their stock of Patriot missiles to Ukraine before we send any more from our own stocks. Same with the Spaniards, same with the Greeks. There are a ton of European partners who have stocks of these missiles that should be giving them up before us. This idea of Ukraine or other NATO countries buying from us, that works. That could work, but it's going to take years to refill the
hang on for hang on for 1 second. We're going live to the main stage. Don Jr.'s up there. Let's go live to the main stage.
I remember when we were starting these out, and it was like that. You know, it was like this. It was like your average first 3 rows. It was like your average political meeting where there was like 12 people in a room, and this is awesome. And there were no young people.
And now we have thousands and thousands of young people from all across the country.
No, it's amazing. And thank you guys for doing all of it. I know it's summer vacation, and it doesn't seem like there's ever a vacation anymore. It's always nuts out there, but it's amazing to see you guys as involved as you are, watching what's going on, being vocal, having that next generation in there is so fundamentally important. So I just love seeing you guys out there. So thank you for all of that. It really makes a big difference, and was obviously huge last November.
Yeah, and the theme of what we're talking about is fulfilling the mandate, especially for the younger voters in this audience. Last week, the One Big Beautiful Bill was finally passed and signed into law. And one of the components of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the most important, is fully funding ICE, fully funding the deportation effort. What would your perspective be? Your father has said no amnesty under any circumstances whatsoever. Talk about the need for mass deportations and how we will not put up with any amnesty whatsoever.
Listen, it's so fundamentally critical. I mean, it was really the number one issue we all campaigned on. We see what it happened, what it did to so much of America, what it did to so many communities, and honestly, what it did to so many of the low-income communities in this country where people were just sweeping those jobs, and ultimately everyone's potential American dream was getting wiped away. And so the big, beautiful bill, the funding of the wall, the funding of ICE is so fundamentally important to actually getting these things done, right? We saw what we could do about just the border itself. But now you have 20 million people probably. I imagine they don't even know. Just getting in there, they're getting all the benefits. You know, the benefits that you guys pay for yourselves, that your parents probably paid for all of you guys. They get that with no contribution to the system. And that was by design under the Biden administration. So to have the funding to start the mass deportations, but more importantly, the parts of the bill that literally cut off all of the freebies that were just draining our coffers, but more importantly, were a calling card to the rest of the world. Be like, come here, we'll give you everything. The health care that you got gets diluted because you get to pay for thousands of others, millions of others, tens of millions of others, who will likely never even pay into the system. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in any other country, and there's a reason no other country was doing it. So, that was a fundamental aspect of the big, beautiful bill, to now actually have the funding to do this. And it was sort of amazing to me how much even reluctance there was from so many, allegedly on our side, who's, well, it's just controversial. You're gonna have to deport someone. Listen, there's gonna be good people that this happens to too, but there are millions of criminals, and this is Joe Biden's ICE. I mean, when I saw the statistics, I literally couldn't believe that a civilization could survive when our Western values, our culture, the civilization itself, when they literally admitted, and this is Biden ICE stats, so this is probably diluted a lot, but 600,000 criminals, 13,000 murderers. I mean, think about that. 13,000 murderers were let into the country. They knew they were murderers, and they let them into the country. 16,000 rapists. Okay, add those together. You got what, 30,000, let's call it, 30,000 murderers and rapists. There's about 4,000 counties in America. Imagine you spread them out, evenly throughout that. Yeah, we'll throw 7 murderers or rapists into every county in America. How's that going to work? What's the end game there? And that's what was going on.
The end game is Lake and Riley. And the end game is Rachel Morin, which is dead people all across the country because of the open border.
Yeah. So, that has to stop. They got to get rid of that. And they have to also do a lot more, because they have to enable the Americans to have a chance. We have to be able to innovate, grow, be productive enough to create the wages necessary in a lot of these businesses that Americans will actually work there. We've seen what happens when some of these places, it's going to be a disaster. Oh, wow, there's a line of Americans ready to do some of these jobs. A big part of it was also, from the corporate tax cut standpoint, right? That's great. I mean, I'm a business guy. I love the corporate tax cuts. But I think what was really unique about the BBB was how much time, energy, and political capital my father put into making sure those tax cuts translate down to working class Americans. Okay, when you have the no tax on tips, all of these ideas, they're going to benefit Americans so greatly. The original tax plan from the first administration, it did just that. Everyone said, it's just corporate, it's just corporate. But I think the stats were like close to 90% of Americans, like regular people, got thousands and thousands of dollars in real benefits to them. And that's the idea. I mean, his fundamental purpose is to make sure that those real Americans, the hardworking Americans who've seen their wages diminished with inflation, we're getting that under control too, but that were really struggling for the last few years, actually get to see the benefits of these cuts. And again, it's one of those things where my father had to go way out of his way because, the Republican class, we're going to do it for corporations and maybe some of that will trickle down. No. It's going to be about the Americans, about getting them the most benefit out of this, and that's how everyone wins.
And so this last week, President Trump has been in a feud with California over the transgender sports thing. We're both fathers of daughters. Your daughter is a very good golfer. What this whole men and female sports.
Wow.
I told you she had a lot of fans here.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you.
It's funny.
I was like, Don, and he's like, ah.
I don't want to say we created a monster, but by chance it sort of happened almost. I mean, it'll be a year ago in 2 days. I was with her on July 13th when my father was shot. And I got the unusual call from my daughter that morning saying, hey, I want to go fishing, which, if you have a teenage daughter, you guys are teenage daughters or so, you're not often calling dad to go do something. So when you call dad, she's nodding, she's like, yep. When you call dad, he's going to do it, right? It doesn't matter. So it wasn't even the perfect day. I was like, yep, I'm going to go get bait. We're going to go deal with it. We're going to go fishing. We were out probably 13, 14 miles offshore, having a great day, catching fish, and we got the call. And I picked up my phone, and it's like, your dad's been shot. I'm like, and? Well, we don't know anything. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. There's calls that are good and bad. That's only a call that has degrees of bad, right? And we didn't know anything, and we're frantically kind of calling. I guess the only thing that I guess they did right that day was shut down other communications. And so I think we set the sea speed record from offshore into Jupiter where we live. And, finally we're able to get my dad on the phone. And, it was sort of a harrowing thing. By then we had seen some of the videos of him coming back up with the sort of fight. And I just got on the phone. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not usually at a loss for words, but that was one of those where I was like, I got nothing, but I was like, that's the most badass thing I've ever seen. I was like, I'm not sure if it's like tactically the most intelligent thing I've ever seen either. Just stand up again. What could go wrong? So I was like, but it was this sort of somber moment, and finally it was just, again, it got awkward enough. I was like, okay, so we got to ask the most important question, which is, how's the hair? And he gave me Don, the hair is fine. It's a little bloody. There was a lot of blood, Don. But the hair is fine. It'll be good. Gonna have to wash it. And it sort of broke the ice, and I'm not going to say it got normal again, but it normalized the situation. And my daughter was with me, and Kai has probably spent more time with my dad one-on-one than I have, and I'm a lot older than her, largely because of golf. And she's like his golf buddy, and she plays with him every weekend when he was around, and that was all the time. And she called me that next morning, and she's like, you know what, I want to speak at the RNC. It wasn't, and to be clear, it's my daughter, so it wasn't exactly I want to, like it wasn't a question, it was like I'm going to. And I'm just like, I guess I'll bump some governor, like just,
And you did.
I didn't do anything. I called my dad. This was like a 6 o'clock in the morning call. He picks up on the first ring. I'm like, hey, you doing good? By the way, Kai wants to speak at the RNC. And he just goes, whoa. Well, listen, when you do this every day, by the way, we've seen guys that do this every day and still blow that, right? When there's 40,000 people and you're in a stadium and there's 10 million, 20 million people watching on television and you've never given a speech in your life, that is not easy. It's hard for most people, again, who do it. It's like they're used to a small crowd and that's easy. It's a lot of pressure. And he's just like, that's a big one. That could go wrong really quickly, and we understand how bad that can go. But he just thought about it for a second. He goes, you know what? That kid's a winner. She'll do great. Like that was it. Like, congratulations. She'll open for you, and like we'll bump someone and make it happen. And she's done a pretty good job since then. So yeah, she's amazing.
So then, and President Trump deserves so much credit, making sure men are not going to be in female sports, which is the kind of connection. So she's a great golfer. How do you interpret how the Democrat Party continually embracing this men and female sports issue? What is their reluctance to just moderate on this issue?
You know what? I love it. I think it's such a top issue, especially for like a lot of the demographics that, men sort of understand it intrinsically. I think, a lot of soccer moms around America sort of, their entire currency, was virtue signaling, right? And like they latched onto this thing. And I think it was one of the guys from Daily Wire actually gave me credit a couple months ago. They were like, wow, Don Jr. was on this issue in 2017 because before it was really a thing, you'd see it. Like some dude would win a high school girls like track championship and they're getting a scholarship to the finest university for track. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a dude. And this was Twitter 1.0. So let's just say guys like you and I and probably everyone else in this room, we were definitely in the minority there. It was 95-5, 90-10, conservative to, raging libtard. And even then, though, I'd put it up, be like, this is insane. And I'd read the comments, and it was, just people who were just waiting to comment on anything, to hate on me, whatever it is. And I feed off the hate. It's great. It's fine. But I remember reading the comments and being like, wow, this is a losing issue for them, because even the people who hated my guts were like, oh, I hate Don Jr. so much, but he's right. Next comment, oh, I can't believe I agree with Don Jr. on something. That's how ridiculous it was. Like, before it became a thing, and then, the trans mafia, which was, the most beyond reproach organization in the history of the world. I've never seen a group of people that probably comprise like 0.02% of its society they were infallible, right? They could do no wrong. They were obviously right. And the Democrats fed into even against gay liberals who were like, wait a second, we fought for decades to be able to get, equality, and they don't want equality. They want equality plus. This is insane. So, I think it's asinine. I think it was a great issue for people across the board, for reasonable people who weren't sort of politically entrenched, for independents. And I love that even knowing this now, even years later, even when it's an abject fail, they literally can't help but continue to go all in on the issue. It's a 90-10 issue, and if Trump is in the 90, they just got to take 100% of the other 10 and back it 1,000%. So I'm glad to see that they're still doing it because I think it helps us in the long run.
It's bad for the country, but
it is a disaster for the country. It's a disaster for our daughters. It's an absolute embarrassment. Again, as a father of a girl athlete, to say that, like, hey, you're just going to have to deal with it because that guy's 8 inches taller than you and stronger.
Have you had to deal with that?
Not yet.
How would you?
I'd be vocal. I'd be.
What's your advice for parents that have to deal? I think dads need to start rising up and saying, we're not going to put up with this stuff. What is this?
No. Hey.
And because I know you, I don't think you would put up with this.
No, come on, not even and this will get me into trouble. But you have to call it out. Enough of the nonsense. There's no political capital in destroying your child's future to be woke, to be able to get the applause, from that crowd who hates your guts anyway. And so, I think it's so fundamentally important that we all have to become unafraid to speak up on these kinds of issues. And when you do, you realize there's actually a lot of us. It's the vast majority. But again, for years, we've been put into these corners. There was a time where if you said these things, you'd be canceled. You'd be thrown off social media. You'd be thrown out of the PTA meeting. You couldn't do that. So we have to stand strong for this. I've gone through enough of the child athlete sports thing. I have 5 kids. I'll get in trouble as a dad again for saying this, which is there's nothing quite as painful as a 3-year-old's triple header in softball. If you're going to put in years of that kind of time, and then your daughter or your kid becomes a great athlete, and you say, well, I guess it was a good run. They're better than the other girls, but there's 3 dudes that just took their spot. I guess we're just going to take it. That's not going to work. That's the way society fails.
So in closing here, Don, because I know that, and thank you for being generous with your time. You got a packed schedule. The question we get a lot from the audience is, Charlie, how do I deal with the hate? Picking up on something you said. You said it briefly. You said, the hate fuels me. I love the hate.
Yeah.
Because if you look at these amazing students, and do you notice, Don, we give the best tickets to our students?
They should.
Right? These are the warriors right here. And so when they say, Charlie, how do I deal with the hate at my high school? How do I deal with the hate at my college? You are uniquely positioned to be able to answer that because you've been hauled in front of Congress. You've been investigated. You've had a decade of hate. I think you have the 2nd most death threats in the country next to your father.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? And what's your advice to the patriots of all ages that don't know how to deal with that kind of hate?
Listen, you get used to it, okay? So for me, it actually started less about just the hate. It was more about, the cancel culture. It was, we built hotels and buildings. We did that in a lot of cities. Most of them are liberal cities. We were, I got invited to every cool person party in New York City for decades. And then, it was gone like that. And I was like, wow, like these people that I thought were friends for decades, they don't call anymore. Then when you won, they called it, oh, I love what you were doing. I was like, no, dude, I was reading your Facebook post. Like, you're just trying to have the best of both worlds. It does take time, but I realized it was actually better, even from a business standpoint, to be a leader for a large group. If it was 50% of the country, it's like, wow, there's still something there, right? I'd rather be thought of by them as someone who's willing to have that conviction to fight for these things than be sort of agnostic to the general population. It was just another guy that was there. So it took a lot of time. I mean, it took a lot of, we lost hundreds of millions in business, not just on the sort of the lawfare side of things that we were fighting, but just people canceling because, well, one person in a group of 100 doesn't like you, so we're just not going to go to your hotels. That was hard to get used to, but once you got used to it, you realized there's still hope, and what you're fighting for is so much more important in the grand scheme of things. Again, you don't have to do everything like I did. I sort of took the aggressive approach on everything. You can have these conversations respectfully. I love what you do, and we did this in 16 and 15.
Been doing it for 10 years. Don and I, who thinks Don should come to a college campus with me this tonight? Would that be great?
I think
by popular demand.
By popular demand. Listen, we were doing it before it was like a daily thing. When it was like, hey, once a month we went to Penn State. We went to one.
It was aggressive.
Up in Michigan State. We went up there. This is a 16 campaign, and it was me and Charlie and another friend of ours, Tommy. Yeah, and we literally were about to get on the stage, and the state police were there, and they showed up. The state police, like the Michigan State Police, showed up and were like, hey, man, we can't tell you not to do this, but like this is bad. And the university, of course, made sure that all the radicals could get in, even though we oversold to the groups that were people like us.
You guys know what
and
we're
that was fine.
about.
You've seen all of this. And they go, we can't stop you from doing it, but we also can't guarantee your safety. And we're putting out like a notice right now that like you should not do this. Like it's against, common sense to be going out there. And we basically looked at each other.
Go.
I literally said, like, I would rather get my ass kicked right here, right now, than capitulate to the woke mob. And we did. And it was actually amazing. We were backstage. We were about to go on, and like, what was it? It was like the offensive line of the football team showed up. Like, it's like, we love you guys. We're just here. If anything goes wrong, don't you worry. Like, I mean, these guys were like our unhired, unannounced, like, security detail. I'm looking at this guy. I'm not a small guy. I'm 6'1", 195. And I was like looking at this guy. I was like, I don't want to meet that guy if he's on the other side. But like, we went out, and the energy in the room, there was a tension. And, our guys sort of hit these guys with facts and reality and just sort of shut them down. And so, what Charlie does when he goes there, he doesn't lose his cool. He keeps his temper. He talks about facts. And you realize their arguments fall apart so quickly because they don't actually have anything other than sort of the high-level soundbite that they're talking about. And so when you're able to reason with them, you see most of these people, they walk away, they're like, oh, I thought I was going to own this guy, and they're broken when they walk off the stage. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows it. So you don't have to do it perhaps the way we did it. And I'm even trying to alter some of that now because now, again, there's a broader coalition. We don't have to just be so forceful with it. You can do it with facts, logic, reason, and decency.
Don, I speak on behalf of all of our students. Thank you for all you do for our movement. You work your tail off. Donald Trump Jr., everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Give it up for Don Jr. There's the President of the United States right there. Can we go full screen on that, guys? I can direct and star at the same time. Full screen. There we go, yeah. And the First Lady and the President right there. Had a tremendous trip today. I know we couldn't cover as much as we want. They're going to Air Force One. Our own Brian Glenn is right there. I don't believe we're going to be able to pick that up. There's massive breaking news if you haven't heard it. Daily Wire is reporting that Kash Patel, there's the president, not going to say anything to the press. Kash Patel has said that if Dan Bongino resigns and leaves, that Kash Patel will step down as director of the FBI. He will leave also. That if Dan Bongino leaves because of Pam Bondi and essentially there's the president, first lady. Does it get any better than that right there? Does that remind you of Biden and Biden's wife? Is that exactly? Come on. Is this an upgrade on the first lady? Huh? You're proud of this. Macron's wife, Biden's wife. Come on, man. Okay, so breaking news. Kash Patel is being reported that Kash Patel has notified that if Dan Bongino resigns because of Pam Bondi's mishandling of what she's now publicly saying is Pam Bondi's mishandling of the Epstein files, that Kash Patel, will step down as director of the FBI to follow Dan. If I can just give you the way I think the system works, right? I assume that Dan and Kash got some sign-off before they made those statements, right? I don't think those are random statements.
I'm going to cut things a little bit.
Here's why do you think there's movement right now? Is there movement from this afternoon, from yesterday? You agree that there's movement? You can see movement? You know why there's movement? No, special prosecutor. You've raised the stakes and said, we want a special prosecutor. We won't take anything else. We want to directly report to the United States. And now you're seeing the machinery starting to work. Well, upon further review, right? So do you guys still want a special prosecutor? Do you want you don't want Dan and Kash to resign, right? Remember how hard it was to get Kash confirmed? Remember how many, first off, you guys did Bobby Kennedy, Pete Hegseth. Wow, Pete's going to be here this afternoon, I think. Bobby Kennedy, Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard. We had no easy ones, right? There were no easy ones. Could we have gotten Matt Gaetz confirmed as Attorney General? You think so? Did Matt Gaetz get tossed to the wayside too early? You agree with that, right? What did we say at the beginning there? Remember, before Thanksgiving, we said everybody that's nominated is going to take their position, right? And everybody that held their nomination got confirmed, right? Why was that? Because of you guys. Remember, they fear you. Think about it a second. Remember the AI bill. The AI bill, there's a great story, if we can get it out. The Verge, right, which is a high-tech magazine, has the inside baseball account that's brilliantly written by one of the young reporters that I'll push it out, I want everybody to read. It's the inside baseball of what happened on the AI moratorium. At 10 o'clock that morning, when Mike Davis came on, that deal was dead. They had already gotten a compromise. They were good to go. It's because Mike Davis came on War Room and fired you guys up. They said the carpet bombing of the Senate was something they'd never seen before. And people were irate. All of those senators immediately, even the hardest core guys on tech, told Ted Cruz, look, dude, this is your thing, right? All the oligarchs are in back of it. These people are worked up right now. We don't want to face the wrath of it. You sure it's only 3 votes? And that's what he put out the tweet later. Hey, they've only got 3 votes, and it's a long night ahead. We'll be able to get this. At 1 o'clock in the morning, they went to the President of the United States. The oligarchs did, and Ted Cruz, and begged for some reinforcements. You know what the president said? Yeah, I don't think so. I think we'll let this one play out. You know why? He understands where his base is, right? Now, this Epstein thing, people are very upset. You're very upset after the cabinet meeting the other day, right? Right? It seems like our leader, is getting bad information. He's getting bad information when people say it doesn't matter, it's not important. That's not correct, right? It's not correct because the Epstein situation shows us one central thing. Who runs the country? Either the people run the country, right, or the deep state runs the country, right? And the fight's got to be now. We cannot sit here and let them do it. And so already from this morning show, because of, Posobiec being here and Natalie being here and my screaming like a madman and you guys, by the way, the thing that went viral was all you guys clapping every time and getting on Bill Blaster and letting people know. All of a sudden, voila, starting like 2 hours afterwards, Dan Bongino's not happy. In fact, Dan Bongino took a day off from work, right? He's so unhappy. And then a couple hours later, hey, Kash Patel ain't happy either, right? Kash Patel's, he's more unhappy. And in fact, if Dan leaves, Kash is going to leave. Do you want, of all the work we did with Kash and Dan, do you want Kash and Dan to leave? No! Do you want, well, okay, why? Right there.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
So he was on Joe Rogan, and he was gaslighting us, okay? I'm not
on how so?
Well, as far as the Epstein is concerned, you're telling me that he has tens of thousands of hours of video. Also, I'd love a job. That's why I came here. I'd love to work for you. But I'm just saying, 10,000 hours of
You're really going down a great path for a job. Keep going.
Okay, so
it's like the young guy today trashing Trump. Yeah.
I love Trump.
Jane Zirkle's bonus just got cut.
I love Trump. I love MAGA. My mom is going to be so pissed I'm not recording this, but it's okay.
We are. Okay.
So
it's called television.
10,000 hours of child whatever. Them messing with kids, and you're
hang on. Time out. Stop. Let's be precise. They said
young women.
No. They said 10,000 hours were uploaded. Not originally produced, it was uploaded of child porn.
Okay.
So that could be, and it implies it's not, I'm not saying it's terrible and you got to release it, right? Some are redacted, but that at least it's implying, look, these guys who have been there forever, at least in that memo, have you ever seen promulgated at any of your companies or anything when it comes from the top, an undated, unsigned memo? I take it nobody wants to take ownership of that memo, right? But continue on.
I voted MAGA 3 times.
Did he win all 3 times?
Yes.
There's no doubt in your mind.
Not a doubt. Not a single doubt.
Why don't we have a special prosecutor for the 2020 election? Do you think that might be important? Or something we need to know? And J6 and what Nancy Pelosi did. Let's just adjudicate it. By the way, if it goes against us, are we fine if they come out after adjudicating it and find out that Trump lost the 2020 election fair and square? Are you prepared to accept that?
Yes.
Hang on, get the weak ones here. No. Because he did. No, you're right. Do we have to adjudicate it?
Yeah.
Okay. Continue on.
I feel gaslit by Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino, who I was in big support of. It is very clear that I agree with some other sources.
Well, Dan Bongino has already told you as early this afternoon that he's not. Do we have something up? Huh? Reporting on it? Let's go and play it. We got a report now from. Hang on for 1 second. You're doing fine. Give him the hook. No, just stay right there. Your exit interview is going to continue.
Director Dan Bongino is considering leaving his job after this heated confrontation with Attorney General Pam Bondi over his frustration with how the Justice Department has handled the Jeffrey Epstein files. That's according to a person who's spoken with Bongino and a source familiar with Bongino and FBI Director Kash Patel's interactions with Bondi. Quote, Bongino is out of control, furious. The person who has spoken with the deputy FBI director said, quote, this destroyed his career. He's threatening to quit and torch Pam unless she is fired.
By the way, is that your favorite too, Nicole Wallace? Right? Don't you love Nicole? She's the new Rachel Maddow. Okay, you heard it right there. What Dan's saying, even there was a huge confrontation about this, and then he threatened to resign. She put it out anyway, and he's going to resign unless she's fired. Tell me where you guys come down. Okay, how many want to see Kash Patel and Dan Bongino resign over at the FBI? Raise your hand. Okay, I got one. A former potential ex-employee. How many want to see what Dan Bongino say? Want to see Pam Bondi resign? Now, hang on. We've known Pam for a long time, right? You're prepared to throw her under a bus that quickly? Okay, why? Get some response. Can you get over to let's get over to get to Berquam right now.
Come over here. I mean, if we have
to get in the shot.
Oh, wait. Okay. All right, Ben. If we have to choose between Patel, Bongino and Bondi, I mean, it's an obvious choice. I mean, if that's where it's at, it's a no-brainer. If that's what we have to choose between, then Bondi can go. And I don't know everything that's going on in there, but I've always said there's no way that Dan Bongino gave up everything he had to do this job to lie to us. I don't buy that.
Pam Bondi's a good person, right? Why are you not satisfied with her job? Let me hear it. Give it to me. Why? Let's get some other people.
Yeah, get some
Let's have a couple of female. We got any female types?
You got any
any female types have an opinion?
He identifies as a
I know
female.
the women around the worm are always so quiet.
I'm wearing my red shirt. So this is what I would say to that. Either Pam Bondi is playing 3D or 4D chess with Trump, and he's a part of it, or she needs to just go because she was also, I believe, a Pfizer consultant or something at some point. So I think she needs to go unless President Trump, and everybody says he plays, 4 and 5D chess, and if he's playing that right now, then he'll smooth it over and Dan will stay. But we need Dan and Cash to stay.
You think there's a bank shot? Jane Zirkle.
What do you
Jane,
think? What team are you on?
Jane, no fluoride. Let's stay on topic.
Yeah, I think either there's some behind-the-scenes negotiations with she and the president, or not. And if it's not, then she can seek greener pastures elsewhere.
Okay, talk about 5D chess. Hang on a second. My trusty producer just informed me of Inside Baseball in D.C. that actually are saying that it might be Pam Bondi leaking that to become stronger and force those two guys out. What do you think? What do you think? Is that a bank shot? By the way, you've never seen Vicious till you've seen Washington, D.C., right?
That'll be a brick.
Worse than the court of Henry VIII. Your thoughts on that?
She might be good. I don't think she's that good.
Okay. You're not buying it. Right there.
Yeah, I think Pam Bondi has been compromised.
You think she's been compromised? Oh, hold it. She was Attorney General of the great state of Florida for 8 years, did a great job, right?
She was.
Well, all you, how many Floridians are here? Were you happy with Pam Bondi as Attorney General? So what happened?
It's a different job.
Okay, short commercial. This is what I mean by blowing the break. Short commercial break. Back in a moment.
Bongino is out of control furious. Quote, this destroyed his career. He's threatening to quit and torch Pam unless she's fired. I mean, again, I know we're not in normal times, but if I could just inject a little bit of that barometer. The deputy director of the FBI said that about any attorney general to the press, that he plans to go torch his boss. That would be a fireable offense.
Yeah, I mean, this is Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino's been out of control for years. You know, Mitch describes him as a bozo. He is. But I just, a cautionary note here. You know, Dan Bongino leaving the FBI is not going to solve the problems of the FBI. Dan Bongino's departure is not going to make anything calmer or better. By the way, your interview with Sue Gordon and the discussions in the previous hour did underline how grave the threat is. But to Mitch's point, all of this flows from Donald Trump himself. So when one guy like Dan Bongino leaves, it doesn't mean that things go back to anything close to normal, because this is what Donald Trump wants. This is why he named these loyalists. He didn't want to have what happened in his first term, where he had slightly independent cabinet members who bailed on him. And so this is the house that Donald Trump built. He sent Kash Patel and Dan Bongino into the FBI to torch the place, to tear it all down. And, it's not perhaps working out the way that he wanted, but this is a mess. The one thing that if Dan Bongino does leave, it takes the Epstein story and it just pours kerosene on it. It's not something that we just move on from, especially in MAGA world. So you will see this. One of the big questions I think we have is this a one-day story? Is this something that we're going to forget about by Monday? If Dan Bongino and or Kash Patel were to leave because of this, that guarantees that it is going to simmer for a very, very long time, and the result will be more chaos, not less chaos, in the Trump administration.
Do you agree? Do you agree right there that this is throwing kerosene on this fire? Right?
Yes.
You agree?
Yes.
Let's have some responses over here.
All right, ladies, we got the ladies in here.
Hi, I'm Xavier Powers from New York. My mom loves you. She watches you all the time. So I just wanted to say that I'm really upset about
a woman of discernment, I can tell.
Yeah. But I'm really kind of upset. So are my brothers about they're not releasing the Epstein files at all, and we don't know what's going on.
How old are you?
19.
Why do all these young people? Why do the young people care? Why do you care?
Because we want our country to move forward and not back into being so left that we're not separated. And it's just really good for people to be oh, there's other people like me around the world. It's just really cool. I also went to YAF. Young America's Foundation, and I've met a lot of people. I'm from New York, so I met a lot of people.
You from New York City or upstate New York?
Upstate New York. And I met a lot of people there that thought the same way as me, and I was this is really refreshing, because all my friends were hardcore liberals from public school. So I was this is really refreshing. So
why does Epstein and the Epstein files, this story and what's happening in the FBI, why does it make any difference in what you just said?
Well, because it's just I really want to hear what's going on in the world. I just don't want to be ignorance is bliss sometimes, but not all the time. You need to know facts and everything like that. That's why we have things like the War Room, Turning Point USA. It's just really important for us to know those things and what's going on in our country, because if we don't know, then we're just going to be
Thank you, man. And what's your name?
Xavier Ann Powers.
Fantastic.
Xavier.
Your mom raised you up right.
Yeah. Shout out to your mom. What's your mom's name?
Mom.
Maria. Shout out to Maria.
Maria,
all right, come here, young lady.
Hey, I feel like Lindsey Graham publicly supported Pam Bondi for her nomination, so...
Did that make you concerned?
Killed it for me, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the President of the United States, our leader, endorse Lindsey Graham in South Carolina?
Well, that was a deal, I guess. I don't know about.
Are you a fan of Lindsey Graham?
I am not.
Are you a fan of Ukraine?
No.
Is it in your mind, Kash and Dan or Pam, one or the other? Either
yes.
You keep the set of those at the FBI and replace the Attorney General, or she stays and they go?
No, she goes and they stay.
You're okay, how many? You guys support that?
Yeah. She's got to go.
Pam Bondi was a great Attorney General in Florida for 8 years. Does that make a difference? Does not. Why?
She's hurting us.
Why is Epstein so important? Let's get somebody else. Why is the Epstein situation so important?
Steve, you opened our eyes to just the deep corruption. I mean, we had no idea how important, potentially a CIA asset. I mean, we didn't know any of that until you started talking about all of the things that you talk about every day. And I would hate to lose Pam or Cash or Dan. Wouldn't want to lose any of them. But something still doesn't feel right about the
What do you mean doesn't feel right? What do you mean?
Binder situation, that whole debacle, something is not right with that.
How did you feel? You're a supporter of President Trump?
Yeah.
You voted for President Trump?
I did.
How did you feel the other day in the cabinet room when they asked President Trump about the Epstein situation? What did you feel?
I felt like he was pushing it off, and I don't know why.
If you were able to sit in the Oval Office with President Trump and give him from your heart your recommendation about this situation, what would you tell him?
Release it all. Release it all.
Even if it hurt victims?
I don't see how it could. I mean, it's got to own, sunlight is the best.
How about his concern? How about if it hurts innocent people?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know how it would hurt innocent people, but...
But if it did hurt innocent people, would you still release it?
Yeah, it has to be released.
Why does it have to be released?
The transparency.
Jane, let's go over here.
What's your name and how old are you? I'm Will. I'm 13.
And why do you think the Epstein files should be released?
I don't think it's really about Epstein. I think it's about the deep state and just everything surrounding Epstein. He's like just the tip of the iceberg.
Why do you think they haven't released them?
I think it's mostly the deep state getting in the way.
Hang on a second. Are you simply repeating what you hear your mom and dad talking around the table, or is this coming from your own reading and your own thinking and your friends talking?
This is coming from you, Charlie Kirk, basically everyone here.
Who are you most excited to see at SAS?
Charlie Kirk.
All right.
Sorry.
That's the second best answer.
What do you think about the Epstein files?
I think President Trump's going to ultimately do the right thing.
Hold on. Let's get this guy's information if we can.
Do you have social media?
Mary Beth, can you get his? Yeah.
Social media?
No.
Good man. Can we just get his information? How we make contact? We have an intern program. In fact, Jane Zirkle and Natalie Winters and Will Blair all came up through the intern program. So thank you. I didn't hear what he had to say.
What do you think about the Epstein files?
I think President Trump's going to ultimately do the right thing, and it's going to work out. The files are going to be released. There may be some redactions to protect the innocent.
Is he getting good information around him?
Probably. If you're talking about Bongino and Patel, yes. The others, I'm not so sure anymore.
What about the amnesty situation?
I think he's going to do the right thing on that too.
And what would the right thing be?
If you're here illegally, you're here illegally. You've broken our laws.
Is that where you guys stand? If you're here illegally, you got to go?
Yes.
You don't have any empathy. You guys are hard-hearted. Why are you so hard-hearted? Hey, we're still working, Ben. Okay, get focused.
I'm deep in conversation over here, Steve.